it's SK Telecom who bite off too much. They get the first kill with the counter engage, but Huni's teleport in under the turret, grabs that aggro, and he has to jump out of the fight immediately.
And the crowd tells us which team just won a team fight right there, but it is still RNG fighting back a 3,000 gold deficit. Sure, I do think they outscale. I think that's pretty likely here, but it is a lot to work back from SKT off to a pretty early lead.
An outscale is an eventuality. It's something that comes later. In the team fights right now, fighting front to back for RNG is very, very difficult. Galio is so tanky, even with the items that Xiaohu and Uzi had put together. It felt like Ninja Tabby answers the Hurricane and low attack damage just fine. They start off here, they get the charge up. So far, it's only SKT winning. RNG stopped the engage, but it started really good for SKT.
Look at that. They get the Rakan. Perfect counter engage here, but Huni teleports in under the turret, immediately auto-attacks Xiaohu there after his ultimate, and he's dead almost right off the bat here. Uzi then is left with very little threat on him because Let Me on the Gnar is chasing off Bang into this little side corridor.
You thought the Twitch being cut off by Faker would be enough, but Let Me with the double house to the face, taking down the entire bot lane instantly. So big for RNG. Started well for SKT as third Drake only at 20 minutes, so they're really piling them up here, SKT.
Good nice for them. Let Me clocked him with that one for sure. Good damage out of him. And well, it is all the non-combat Drakes. Oceans can definitely let you keep pushing. You can get a lead. Your health bars and mana pools come right back up, and certainly can take even more. And in fact, they'll kill turrets and you know, Drakes and Barons afterwards a bit faster as well. Helps that. So if SKT can start winning fights, they can balloon it forwards, but they have to start winning fights now.
It's so big to always see a Mountain Drake on a team that has the tools that Papa Smithy was talking about earlier. You know, if SK Telecom can try and mount that side lane pressure and start to have that you know, closing feeling for RNG and gain control of the Baron area with the extra damage that they can do to the Baron, it adds so much more threat and could bait RNG into more of those perfect counter engage options for SK Telecom.
And a lazy triple kill for the Gnar also added to his damage threat, already working his way towards the Black Cleaver on the backside of the Frozen Mallet he already had completed earlier. I saw Huni kind of wincing in pain. He needs his lifesteal item. It's probably going to be the Ravenous Hydra here to keep up that sort of split push pressure. But for now, he actually has to allow Let Me to set the tone of the top lane.
And again, even though we haven't seen this Nocturne be the star of the game, consistently, just like we saw on the screen there, he's shadowing Let Me. As we set up in the Champ Select, he has the option of punishing this Camille, kind of taking away the options for this Camille pressure on the side to really mount. Now it's even a bigger issue since Let Me got those 4 kills you're talking about. Not only is it a Fed Gnar, but it's a Fed Gnar with a possible Nocturne right behind him.
And on the Nocturne point, you know, people talk about how he scales. If you buy enough attack damage, which certainly is the build we're going to see here from MLXG, his job every fight is very simple. He presses R, presses it again on the Varus, and if he trades 1 for 1, he's done his job.
This time it's going to be an easy kill on the blank. His health bar turned into his name at this point. Nice one picked up, and every once in a while, a couple hundred gold keeps going towards RNG. They're finding these picks now.
Camille wanted a bit of defensive warding. Blank came to oblige and died instantly, face-checking a Malzahar. One of the worst feels in League of Legends, but SKT, with the strength of the rest, with their globals, are still able to push up and contest any vision around the Baron area.
And it was 3 ultimates used for the kill, so Blank's going to be up before those important spells are right now. There is a window right now where SKT can use their 2,000 gold lead, use the 3 ultimates down and maybe find something for it. You're seeing, again, as you mentioned before, Let Me seems to have the lead now in this matchup. Huni actually went for magic resist. The Mercury Trends came through for anti-CC. Does not have that armor to withstand Nocturne and Gnar's damage.
2 items on the Gnar, the 2 big ones, the laning focused Frozen Mallet and Black Cleaver, means that Camille is going to start bleeding the global gold that SKT had squarely in their pockets. It was 3 outer turrets to 0 to start this game, but because Gnar picked up the kills, because crucially he was the one and he brings teleport, he's probably going to answer 2 of those turrets very imminently.
Credit, and he has had to share, you know, Starlight and stage time with 2 of the biggest stars in China, you know, Xiaohu and Uzi.
Yep.
But Let Me definitely, you know, in the past as well, they have played around him on carry champions. He has put in his work as well on this all-Chinese roster where every member has really stepped up at one point or another.
To me, he's definitely the method actor on the line. You know what you're going to get with Let Me. He has his effective champion pull. He's consistent. His teleport usage is good. He's what the team needs. even if people aren't going to be screaming out his name like they will with some of his co-stars.
Scream his name out, Papa. Be the one.
I'm waiting for the next big house, man. I'm ready.
Don't preach too much. We'll see what happens here. To go into the bot lane, and here comes that Slink. He does have the ultimate across. Here it comes, and of course the dash sort of been used. Flash not going to be enough. He's fleeing, but here comes the chase down, and there's not a lot of ways out. MLXG getting low, though. He's got to be careful. The knockup is in for Faker. Make it number 2. The boomerang not going to land. It comes back, but it doesn't matter. A shutdown for the best player in the world. Hoping to bring one more for SKT as Blank now finds an easy jungler to kill. The fear not going to matter. Blank gets himself a solo.
Faker immediately swoops in, but here we go!
The chase into the turn, the team goes, he's trying to find the cup, but no kills coming across. Nothing at all. Faker TPs to push him away.
Solar Flare was awesome from Wolf, catching 2 and stopping them from having the damage take down Varus. RNG felt the pressure to make a play in mid with all their initiation. It gets nothing, and Huni with Trinity Force is going to make short work of the inner turret.
Again, that counter engage from SK Telecom. The hero's entrance from Faker. Now they're on the Baron.
And they're still going. Jungler dead. Baron on their sights. 5,000 health left. There's no chance a Smite gets in range in time. So Uzi, can you stop them? Gets away from the ultimate. Does not have his own to use. TP coming in. Will this be a stop? They can try to take down Blank, but it's going to be difficult. This might going to be crap. Here comes a team fight. Will they have the damage? Uzi gets the back line. Now spots out Fig, but meanwhile a kill had already come through. Thanks to Leona. The re-engage. Shahu being stunned up finds the silence, but he does not have any way out. And MLXG, it's going to be a death here, sorry, for Ming as well. Looks like a 3-for-1 advantage SKT.
Uzi should be able to complete this recall, though, and get out on the backside, even though SKT got that Baron buff, and they will be able to use the empowered recalls as well as the push.
But think of how fast things escalated in this game. We felt the dread of RNG just picking up turret after turret with how strong the Gnar was after they won that team fight. If you went out to grab a sandwich and came back, you'd be surprised to see that those kills piled up into a Baron, into inner turret. Now second inner turret being set up for SKT.
Exactly as we thought. The Nocturne went to the side lane to try and punish, but there's no bigger hero in League of Legends history than Faker himself to come in and right the situation after that play, that single play. Now with the Baron buff, they'll be able to break this game wide open.
Deathless kill leader on the team. Kubo's a patient leader on the team right now. Highest farm in the entire game. Faker does it all, and he has for so many years now. You can see this fight one more time. That went 3-1 plus the Baron for the Koreans.
Right decision to focus down the Baron with no possibility of a smite. That's why you saw Blank hold on to the smite, guarantee it. Uzi in one of these flanking positions, the sort of position that won him the previous game, but not with the cavalry behind him to make the big play.
SK Telecom are able to reorganize around that Baron put after Faker chases Uzi off to that tri-bush, and even though the recall is completed for him, RNG once again are going to find themselves at the mercy of an SK Telecom Baron buff.
Ooh, the flash stun's going to land. No ulti though, but the chase down's still going to be had. I don't think Let Me has a way out, and he doesn't. 11-8 now, SKT pushing the lead to 9,000 as they still wear that Baron buff.
MLXG actually popped the ult just to deny vision, try to dissuade the kill from coming through, but Nara goes down. The full court presses here with Huni pushing the top side, and I spy a Face of the Mountain from Leona, one of the few tools that can actually answer some of the damage from the Nocturne diving in, especially with the paranoia effect.
And into lock it next to that, I think very smart stuff out of this player here. The SKT support, 20 seconds of the respawn, 5v4, Baron buff activated. Look for the next play, unless you're going to block the knockup. Nearly getting picked off there by Blank, but able to disengage a little bit longer. Meanwhile, you're seeing the top lane being pushed, and Huni gets the inhibitor turret, the first of this game so far. Mid and Boston still under fire, though.
The pressure mounting here from the former world champions as they take down another inhibitor turret. Bang's going to walk out after this one, and Huni is going to be able to arrive at the rest of the team.
Now the lead crests over 10,000. Definitely fun to see new stuff come out in this game, but the more things change, the more they stay the same. SKT's grit still so good.
I mean, Faker's got a new book out. I saw you spot it,
oh, man.
Kirby.
Well, same old story, though, for Faker. He has a tireless march towards the finals, and he doesn't want to let RNG stand in his way.
And who else but an unkillable Demon King to steal the souls of his opponents as he fells them throughout Summoner's Rift. I know it's a bit try-hard, but it's the way I'm going for this one there. He's actually going to give the blue buff away. Of course, he's got plenty of CDR himself. I think a 10-stack Majais gives CDR, so he's going to give this one away to a teammate now. He's actually happy to let Huni have more mana. Not a problem for him. The push can continue. Double Ocean Drake being infinite resources all the same regardless.
Remember the timer of 2 items on Uzi in the previous game. We're 28 minutes in, and he only has those 2 items to his name. Cheaper on-hit build coming through from Bang, but there's not that many safe places to farm. If he's going to be farming under the inhibitor turret in mid, other people are going to be giving up minions because SKT control the top quadrant. They largely control the bottom, and it seems like RNG are grouping for one big pick. That's probably their only way to even buy time to get back into this game.
Here we go, looking for play. Bot lane being sieged. They've got the squad with them. Huni waiting. Tumbles off the wall, but this turret's at 2/3 HP. Will there be the re-engage? 10,000 gold, again, separates these squads. It's only a 2.5 item Uzi. He only has the armor pen. There's no, 80% crit monstrosity to expect from these champions.
When he's able to walk up, most melee champions can't against Malzahar, but he has invested in a QSS. All the snowball gold from the last 5 or 6 minutes makes it an easy purchase for him.
Time definitely working in SK Telecom's favor here right now as the super minions continue to pile in on the top side. MLXG is trying to be the one to clear them out because they'll use the Nocturne ultimate to join with the rest of the team and try and close that distance. But we've seen how ineffective this Nocturne is. Here goes Faker, though.
Oh, he gets on one as well. Faker looking for that Plague, and Ming getting away from that one. Flash out from Uzi, though. Cleanse off as well. Important Summoner's missing as Faker just kites right back, and the middle inhibitor will fall. Top lane has already dropped a little while ago. Nice! Oh. Amazing explosive cast. Got a blanket. The re-engage coming across, looking for a bit more. The knockup's fine. Will they get some more kills? Uzi taunts it up. The flash forward. The body slam is in. 2 deaths already. Making a third shortly. SKT will not be stopped inside their opponent's base. Xiaohu practically alone now as the support can only sit and watch the base starts to fall. Huni walking away. He's going to stay alive. The turrets will fall in 8 minutes faster than RNG did it in game 1. SKT looks to close back into game 2 as their 4th kill comes in for the fight. And the reigning world champions are closing in on their march.
Is this the beginning of another series? We see SK Telecom giving away game number 1, limping in game number 1 due to some new picks, and then a resurgence.
But game 2, it was more new picks, Kobe. They stuck with what they were trying. It wasn't Blitzcrank, it was the Leona. But the execution difference the analyst desk talked about was definitely massive. The Leona was clean from Wolf, a pick he hasn't played in many moons. They tried the same strategy, and compared to game 1, where they had the picks, but the execution really halted them at the start, so suddenly it was 2-item Twitch very early, and their game plan fell apart. In this game, the timings were hit, the objectives stacked up, and it was straightforward for SKT.
And I can only give props to Bang and Wolf right here, who looked very weak in the first game, stuck with the style, as you're mentioning, Papa Smithy here, and this time it worked out. Duo kills straight up in lane without jungle interference at all. Maybe, again, the fact that there's a Nocturne who's not scary early on gave them extra confidence in the play, but regardless, there were the flash forwards for the Qs, the hit confirms, the skill shots landed. Just nothing but props for Bang and Wolf.
The Nocturne pick really not finding a place here in this game. The attempts at picking off the split pusher, the attempts at using the ultimate were almost always countered very quickly by SK Telecom.
MLXG disrupted the early game plan from SKT and largely won them game 1.
Yeah.
His non-factored nature of being a Nocturne really cost them in the early game in game 2.
Well, a great game to win for SKT. Now let's send it down to Dash and the analysts for their word on this one.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. The equalizer out of SK Telecom, making this a 1-1 and definitely a series. But they do it with the same style, different picks.
Yeah, and this draft got pushed even further down the rabbit hole of, like, what is SKT doing? And it's very clear here that they don't care about getting that Ardent Sensor bot lane power spike, and they're trying to play around Huni's carry. This game, it worked.
And I've got to say, we talked about SKT perhaps losing some confidence, starting blank, maybe doubting themselves a little bit. I love the fact that they had the faith in Wolf. They said, okay, you had an awful game on Blitzcrank. We know you can execute this kind of pick. They put him on the Leona. They play incredibly well in the 2v2, and that's such a confidence boost for this team who has been taking hits left and right.
I also do want to put a spotlight on Huni's performance, particularly on that Camille. Yes, he stumbled a little bit in the mid game, but he certainly brought it back when Faker roamed down into his lane, and For me, it's always going to be about Huni. I said in the last analyst test that Let Me and Saohu have to control the split push pressure, because as soon as Huni starts opening up that pressure point for SKT, that's the pressure point that they use to draw out these perfect fights or these perfect situations where they find these incredible 5v5s or these Baron advantages.
And we have to talk about Faker's Galio, because I feel like RNG has been trying to prepare plans to then beat Faker's Galio. We see it here with Malzahar taking Teleport instead of Ghost, and then the Nocturne to try and give them a split push advantage. First game, it did work. This game, Faker and the rest of the way SKT played around his Galio were the winners.
Can we call into question, though, the Nocturne pick, as was mentioned by Papa Smithy? It felt relatively useless in the early game, and where we did see them victorious over a Galio in game 1, it didn't feel like you necessarily needed to reach that much further for another answer.
So I will say, I think it makes quite some sense, like within the context of their draft. I don't think it worked out, but when you think of some of the combinations that you can pull off, with the Twitch opening up from max range on someone like the Varus, if you were ahead, the Nocturne ults in, you cannot even see the Twitch to react properly in that team fight. It also makes quite a bit of sense as far as shutting down the split push threat of the Camille, who you know eventually is going to outscale the Gnar in that way. So I think it was a pretty intelligent pick. I don't think it worked, but to me, the first 2 games are so much about how well Faker has been playing. You know, even in a loss in game 1, I think he was the most impressive player. Like, he has been insane, roaming nonstop. You talk about the TP adaptation from Xiaohu. He forced out the TP at level 2, roaming topside. He's doing everything.
All that said, let's take a look at a mid-game team fight. This one perhaps a little bit of an overreach here out of SK Telecom.
Yeah, and this is where the game may have actually broke completely open, because SKT had pressure in all 3 lanes, and RNG tries a bit of a desperation team fight, and it almost looked like here Huni would throw the game by going for a turret dive in and pulling the rest of SKT in for a defense.
Yeah, and this is the thing. All eyes really need to be on Let Me, because this is going to be that impressive triple kill. The big thing there is that suddenly Gnar has all of these kills, all of this gold, and he's able to stand 1v1 across from Camille in the side lane, at least for now.
And when you're trying to pull off a dive like that, and it's not on the Twitch, who has ultimate and is on the side, and this is sick. Gets the triple, but still, I mean, Huni definitely made some mistakes there, but he laned incredibly well, and he was able to get it back from them.
And I think this is where we jump to what you're talking about, Azael. What RNG was preparing for, the ability to use the Gnar and the Nocturne in a side lane to punish the split pusher in the Camille. But SKT so quick on the react here in the side lane. This one brought to you by Acer Predator.
And this is exactly what the game comes down to, is this interaction. Will Huni and Let Me fight like this, and then who can collapse? And you think when Huni jumps in that MLXG is going to get the kill, but then because Let Me jump back at the very beginning, he was a little slow on the follow-up. Huni makes it back into turret range, and the Galio turns it around.
And surprise, surprise, it's Faker that's leading the charge, not only making an incredible play in the bot side, but then immediately grouping up with his team, and they just exploit so hard for the Baron off of this.
You also have to point out some of the little micro interactions that Huni was able to pull off. He gets the auto in for his passive right before he gets feared. He uses the bounce off the turret to avoid damage, then come back in to stun the Gnar and then get out of range again. Like, he played that dive exceptionally well, and then Faker is there for the punish, and that really was the game-turning moment.
Exactly. The winner of that 2v2 decides the game. And we saw it, obviously, with SKT able to turn it around, but if RNG then winlet and the Camille split push loses the ability to beat Gnar, I feel like SKT actually runs out of most of their win conditions, so that was so insanely pivotal that Huni and Faker pulled it off.
The concern for me, however, is that I feel that RNG are running out of their win conditions in terms of how to contest Huni outside just banning him out. Gnar is Let Me's signature champion. That is the one that he goes to when he needs to compete in those 1v1 side lanes.
And the fact of the matter is they already are trying to ban him, right? The Jace is the main split push threat that Huni has been on throughout this tournament. They're banning that. He's showing more picks. He has the Trundle. We know he can bring out that. He's shown the Camille. This is a guy who really does thrive in carry picks. It's been his style for a long time. So if you're trying to focus him in pick ban, I feel like you give up a lot elsewhere.
Let's theory craft it a little bit then. RNG is going to move back to blue side here for game 3. How do they answer Huni in the top lane?
I mean, it's now a question of, is that where you want to strike? I agree. I think that they should be trying to figure out Huni and Let Me's matchup, but there's so many different adaptations you can make. Do you prioritize a winning bot lane matchup now that SKT have shown the Varus Leona and Wolf's confidence on the pick? Do you take away Faker from Galio? I mean, he's performing incredible on it right now, and the Malzahar has kind of run its course in terms of a counter pick. Or do you continue to try to get MLXG and Let Me to counteract Huni? And the problem is I feel like if you pick one of these, SKTs then have the other two options.
And I think as weird as it says, you can keep giving Faker Galio, but you need to have MLXG on a jungler that has early game pressure. And that was not the case in this game. The Nocturne farmed until 6 and then died multiple times, never getting off the start. Whereas in game 1, MLXG had 4 kills and assists on Sejuani at the very start. So being on blue side, I think actually temporarily solves this problem for RNG.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll help them, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's any player on SKT that you can just ban out. You know, even Huni, if you ban like Jace and you ban Camille and you ban Trundle or something, or Gnar or whatever, he can still just play Cho'Gath or Maokai or lots of these meta tanks very well here too. So I think you do have to kind of measure your expectations with just being able to super target one player, because I think you give up too much elsewhere.
And I do find it, extremely interesting that SKT is going without Ardent Sensor and clearly playing around topside, where RNG has actually played around topside first before cascading their pressure bottom lane. So teams can still continue to mix this up. If SKT actually decides to pick Lulu, they've set the expectation that they don't want to, so RNG is going to devalue that kind of stuff in draft.
And that's why I push back a little bit. I do agree that Huni can play the Cho'Gath and Maokai, but I don't think it's as successful for SKT versus one of his split pushing options, especially when they've shown that they're going to go away from the Ardent Sensor and give him so many more resources.
I'm still waiting for Ming to abandon the Ardent Sensor as well. We'll see if that happens.
Nope.
SKT take game 2. We'll see if RNG can bounce back against them in game 3. Don't go anywhere. Really? No.
Knocks down the void, looking for the re-engage. They're going to look for this one, the damage. They have it. First blood in the 2-on-2 for SKT.
面上这个可以给大家一个小心翼翼，小心翼翼，小心翼翼，小过，小心。
Here we go. The chase into the turn. The team goes, he's trying to find the cup, but no kills coming across. The re-engage. Shahu being stunned up, finds the silence, but he does not have any way out. And MLXG, it's going to be a death usury for Ming as well. Looks like a 3-for-1 advantage SKT. Will they get some more kills? Uzi taunts it up. The flash forward. The body slam is in. 2 deaths already. Make it a 3rd shortly. SKT will not be stopped inside their opponent's base. The reigning world champions are closing in on their march.
Predator puts you in the battle. But the fight is all yours. Summon your strength.
the Bund, where the Oriental Pearl Tower and Shanghai Center cheer for the LPL teams here at Worlds 2017. Wonderful to see that stuff here. Welcome back, of course, to Game 3 of Royal Never Give Up from the Chinese LPL and SK Telecom T1, reigning world champions coming out of South Korea's LCK. It's going to be a fun one, of course. This has been quite the match so far. A pretty solid win coming out of especially the bot lane of RNG in Game 1. Kind of map-wide, though, SKT took over Game 2.
I'm kind of at this weird point where I kind of want Galio to be banned in Game 3 to see what else SKT have. Both games felt like Galio comps. Game 1, unsettled by MLXG, having a great performance. Game 2, more room to breathe, well executed by SKT. But is it just the mid-game comps anchored by Galio for SKT? And what more do they have in the tank? It's kind of where I'm at as we're about to hit Game 3.
I'm definitely curious for something new as well, Papa, because you know, Faker has played the most unique champions in mid lane of any mid laner, you know, at Worlds thus far. He's tied for #1, so let's get a little bit deeper there and see what else he can do. You know he's got some extra ones.
And of course, if you talk about Faker on SKT, you have to always talk about Uzi on Royal Never Give Up. The bot lane has always been an interesting place to be. You look at what's happened so far this series. It's been Twitch both times where Uzi had a lead in Game 1 via ganks, but Bang & Wolf, with a lane composition, smashed Game 2.
I mean, Bang & Wolf winning lane against Uzi and Ming is a mini story of its own, given Bang & Wolf's woes in recent time. They picked for lane. The Varus was a movement away, specifically for Bang, and they executed very nice.
They definitely did. As well, it took some openings from RNG, because when you're looking at all matchups, every single lane, you have this jungle factor, right? Yep. And the Nocturne, you assume the early ultimate is gonna compensate for that bottom lane and try and prey on the over-pushing of the Varus, of the Leona, this aggressive matchup. Yes, it can win lane, but jungle is supposed to be the counterbalance for matchups like that, and it wasn't there. The Nocturne never punished this Leona flashing forward. It never punished this Varus with no flash on bottom side. Yep. And RNG absolutely crumbled there.
We'll see if they can stand for this one now, and if the picks and bans change much, Xayah still removed from the table, even though, again, we saw SKT not go for the champion in the previous game of this series. Janus off the table, though SKT just removing the hyper safe support picks. Looks like that bot lane style will continue for SKT.
My read on this is that RNG are looking to first pick a jungler because they don't want to take one half of Xayah or Rakan, which are kind of priced in to do, and not give it away as a duo. So I think Jarvan was a very likely first pick for them if available.
Sejuani worked for them in the previous one, but certainly you're right, Jarvan could make a lot of sense. There's the Gragas ban, and we know those top 3 junglers are going to be available now. Again, the Sejuani, the Jarvan, Gragas off the table, of course, as we mentioned.
Tristana and Galio as well, so many of the same power picks rotating and floating around here. This time it is going to be RNG first to the grab bag here, and we'll see if they, again, make the same prioritization and just let the Galio go back over to SKT.
Galio, Sejuani are the 2 left available here. Galio with no Janna available, I think, jumps up even further in priority. We know RNG can play it. So far, they've really been focused on the Sejuani for MLXG, and they go there again.
Especially since the Gragas is also banned here, you're going to go even further down the tier list. Yes, you know, Sejuani is good to get into Gragas anyways, but you really have to wonder if Blank is going to play something like Zac again, or will he make one of those other swaps over to the Rex sides?
This is basically the same pick ban as Game 1, the only major difference being Lulu was banned by SKT instead of the Janna now in this one, but if it repeats itself, it's Lulu Twitch instead of Janna Twitch in this one, which last time around was answered by a Blitzcrank, assuming the choice does finish being locked in here, but that seems incredibly likely for Bang.
I think your read on a mid-game focused jungler to complement with the Galio is right. I'd love to see Blank's Lee Sin, as in 2017 we started with Peanut Lee Sin, undefeated, Peanut the Lee Sin god. Blank was actually a lot more effective on the pick as the year went on, and given that the pool is dwindling, it's an option for Blank, who's been very focused. We looked at the picks for both junglers. It was basically Sejuani, Gragas, or Jarvan, and none of those 3 are available.
Especially with the fact that Faker once again gets Galio. Mid and jungle is how you control the early game. And if you combine a Galio, a Faker Galio, who has been shoving the wave and roaming from level 2 all the way till he gets his ultimate, with something like you talking about, Papa Smithy, with the aggressive pick for Blank, that could very well be SK Telecom with a dominating early game.
Another game could certainly be good. Tarek, not the most significant bot lane laner so far. Tristana has been really good so far, but wow, Vayne coming through again in Uzi. They've dropped one game this series at 1-1. They decide to go somewhere else. Gonna leave the Twitch on the table, and immediately again, it's Zac, the priority jungler now for Blank.
Really interesting stuff going for the very early Vayne here. The bot lane focus will be the same, but SKT opt back into the Zac, hoping to avoid the pitfalls of Game 1's early game.
Let me tell you though, it is hard to hit a Vayne if you are a Zac player and the Vayne has eyeballs because
And a mouse. Can confirm, has
the
eyeballs.
shadow's gonna appear and Uzi should be able to get his way out. So it's gonna take multiple points of pressure for SKT to really force Huni or force Uzi into an area where they can actually pin him down. So that may be one of the reasons for this Vayne pick. It is that short range champion and doesn't provide great sieging for pressuring that game, but it is very mobile for the team fights, which RNG have focused on and are doing so once again.
The only stuff to watch for are the instant tagging things in team fights. If Uzi's in auto attack range, Faker is always in W flash range. If Uzi's in auto attack range, Blank can Q anything and then flash auto Uzi and he'll pull him back in. There are tools to immediately and uncounterably pull that Vayne back in, so it's going to be tight to get around this.
And I want to zoom in on pick ban where we're at now, because we're looking for SKT to add a support and a top laner. SKT had to invest last pick on red side multiple games in a row against Misfits to counterpick support. The Braum, the Tom Kench that won them so many advantages. They can counterpick support at this pick and counterpick top lane, and it potentially really set up their draft. They're just going to go for Lulu, so hitting the tier list, getting another knock-up to potentially hit onto the Vayne in the Lulu.
And that's really the funny thing is we've seen so much priority on Lulu. She's a great defensive support, but you're right, she's also a great enabler for the front line. If Zac lands something, then Lulu lands her ultimate for free as well.
Someone's going to land something, surely.
It's almost a guarantee at this point, and so it still allows Wolf to play the aggressor. Of course, yes, we're going to see Ardent Sensor, we're going to see all that fun stuff as well, but certainly it does allow them to keep playing that hyper-aggressive style in fights.
And you talk about ranges here, Freak. If Uzi's getting in there for auto attacks on Vayne, you can save your polymorph for that Vayne, and that's a targeted ability, which then makes the chaining much easier. As we talked about, the setup is going to be very important for this.
Some of the matchups we've criticized in previous games, Rise into Galio, for example, has been on the losing end multiple times in this tournament. RNG have a very robust team fighting setup, but again, SKT will be looking just like game 1 and 2 to play through the early game. Maokai here is also susceptible. There's a lot of picks you can take into it, and the Camille is a decent one for sure.
The Camille won before. The only thing I want to maybe caution is SKT are on somewhat of a one-threat team. Again, Camille can certainly deal damage, and obviously they won with Varus Camille in the previous game. Tristana probably even higher top-end damage, so it's worked from before. They can certainly do it again, but Fig continues to be on tanks. Seems to be okay for them.
And they do also have this combination of the Hextech Ultimatum and the Hero's Entrance from Galio to guarantee an initiation on one member. That member is Uzi, to be clear. No way to cancel that out when you get enough duration on the ultimate as you get levels on the Hextech Ultimatum. So even though Split Push Camille is the first order of business, the backup team fighting is there with this particular solo lane duo.
This will be a fun game to watch. The styles continue to evolve, and we keep seeing what these teams think they want to bring out. What's the optimal strategy to go against these players? You have to imagine SKT have not scrimmed against Vayne much, if at all, in the last several months. And
I mean, she's been popping up so frequently this tournament.
Three picks?
I actually think, yeah, that to me, for range, that is
players.
significant.
That's fair. Well, either way, if they're ready, they're ready. It's going to be fun to watch for. I don't think many people really expected Vayne coming in, but you're right. If they suddenly saw it and started preparing, then all good to them on this one. Coaches shake hands for one more time. Game 3 about to begin. Who's going to be on match point after this one?
That's the great thing about this tournament here, Freak, because you say, what should you expect? Should you be expecting a Nocturne jungle? Should you be expecting Vayne picks like that?
Leona
I mean,
Blitz?
should you be expecting Fervor Leona?
No.
Well, yes, you should. I think that at this point, you should.
All right, well, styles continue to evolve and push forward. We'll see what comes out of this one as Game 3 is ready to go. Tied 1-1. RNG and SKT both took reasonably convincing turns winning. And we'll see what comes out of this one. Rise, Vayne, not a lot of range on this squad, but certainly damage output is there if they don't get stopped.
And you're talking about getting stopped. My big worry here for the RNG draft is that Predictably, Rise is going to be pushed in. The Vayne lane is going to be pushed in. Camille has some decent trading options in the early game against the Maokai. This really does feel like the sort of game where if one turret goes down, say bot turret goes down, Berserker's Greaves, and BF's Sword Tristana starts rotating, RNG don't have a lot of options to actually get to the late game 5v5 fights they dream of. It was MLXG unlocking that potential with great pathing, with innovation in game one. I actually think MLXG needs to have a performance on that level. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward what SKT are going to try to do.
Yeah, MLXG and again, Xiaohu, the mid laner here. I have grown an irrational hate for Rise at this tournament.
A lot of people have,
I
Kobe.
really have not enjoyed
I love the
watching
zoom in,
this
by the way.
champion, but if he can make some skirmishing happen on his one items, on his 2 item power spikes, and really show me the light, then I'm still open to being converted to the school where all the mid laners have still really preferred Rise, and they really want to make use of the creative ultimates. Are always fun to see, but I do need to see some of the skirmishing in the mid game come through.
And I feel like we've had very clear reads on what the good Rise situations look like. Remember when it was Jarvan Rise from SKT against the mid lane Karma with TP. You can understand that playing through that lane is possible. Those sort of ganks, say the Rek'Sai Rise or the Sejuani Rise onto the Galio, that's the part where you're like, wait, we don't really have early game options. He's immensely tanky from level 2.
Very early on in the game, MLXG looks like a solid 7 seconds faster in his clear so far. Red buff picked up by both. Blank going to go for different camps though, grabbing the Raptors himself as MLXG goes for the Wolves in the buff.
And once again, I think MLXG here on the Sejuani has the option to go for that level 3 gank. Maokai and Sejuani can combo very well in the early game with the amount of crowd control and base damages. It's actually fairly threatening as a 2 versus 2. So Huni, he was the victim of that last time around on Gangplank, and he should be very, very well aware and ready, for any type of top lane focus.
And if there is the top lane camp, which is certainly still possible with the targeted route coming through from the Maokai, notice that in bot lane, the execution-heavy combination with the Blitzcrank is not there this time. Tristana, Lulu are very straightforward in getting turret damage and not being interested in playmaking, so the reliability of answering top lane pressure with just turret pressure in bot is very straightforward.
The mid lane, Faker gonna not take a knockup, but will get rooted up. Bit of damage coming across, goes back to the knockup, but he's not in turret range, but Faker still really liking this trade. No permafrost quite coming through. One more auto could have meant a chunk of damage. Now, where is the jungler?
Yeah, exactly. When a mid laner plays like that, you have to think Faker's got Blank right behind him in his back pocket. Because it is a Zac even early in the game, they're thinking, oh, maybe he's coming over with an elastic slingshot, but Faker's just going for that return trade to get some health off the jungler and kind of reduce his threat.
Nice trinket ward. All right, they see each other. They both know what's going on. And looks like no harm, no foul. They walk right back out of this one. The flash forward. He's going for the big play. One more attack. Xiaohu heals. One more hit. First blood of the mid lane. And it's an execute because there is no damage dealt. Worth it in all chat.
I'm not sure if that's going to be what I was looking for to convert me to the Church of Rise.
I believe, Kobe!
But he definitely pulled out a huge play. A solo kill onto Faker on the world stage.
And the Dazzle flash in the bot lane. They're targeting Wolf. Condemn is here with the TPs to join. And that is Faker completing it to meet into the bot lane.
So they had Zac pushing in mid lane. Bang and Wolf had the option of taking a back here or just controlling the wave again. So no cost there. They don't lose minions in mid.
Ooh, that was a bit close now. MLXG takes some damage box away. He hasn't backed yet, so it shouldn't be much of an issue, but is starting to get out-farmed by Blank, who's a full level ahead right now.
Faker a bit perturbed after the mid lane incident here. He's coming for his Raptor camp now.
Good smite, actually. Blank grabs that one. The stun could be landing. The taunt in there as well. And not quite the damage kill on Blank, but now with the jump, they have this one. Huni might TP to save him. Will they do it? Cell Division is popped, running out of health, and who's going to get the kill on this one? Xiaohu, 300 gold richer with a blue buff.
MLXG holding on to the permafrost till he was channeling his E, meant no way out, even with flash for Blank. The cheers start in the crowd. Nice skirmishing from RNG.
The full Chinese crowd behind Xiaohu right now. He flashes in, then he gets the heal move speed. All he wanted was one last spell. And since Faker never got any return damage off,
What? Was it on me? Oh, man.
See the second kill as well. Hard to know if there was enough mana for Faker to throw out a Q before. but the moment that Blank had his E interrupted, no passage safely out.
Flashed anyway.
They had pressure on top side. There was no way that the Camille would change this fight. So right decision not to teleport in, but a misfought fight by Blank.
You could almost feel the frustration from SK Telecom there on that jungle invade. And RNG able to punish them again. If any game was the game for Rise to have a huge impact. 2 early kills here now for Xiaohu. See if he's going to get to his level 6 extremely quickly. Maybe he can start affecting the side lanes as well even.
See if he can get that move down. Right now it's only a 500 gold difference though. 400 for the first blood, unreturned, and 450 for the assisted kill means it is better farm at SKT so far. Plus 12 in the bot lane right now for Bang. And the jungle, I think, is a little bit different as well if you don't count the MLXG assist. Here comes that first attempt at a roam. Level 6 on the rise, but Tarek is already recalled, so you expect not to see much down here just yet.
SKT just going to be focused on the bot lane turret. Faker will have level 6 soon. Note that while Rise picked up 2 kills, no one is shut down like Huni was in game 1. So while the early kills and the early disruption advantage does go the way of RNG, it's not at the cost of the base game plan of push, push, push in the bot lane.
Yeah, don't let the mid lane antics distract you from how bad of a matchup Vayne Tarek into Tristana Lulu is. And Wolf and Bang are definitely taking their toll. You see them whittling down this turret. This is such a big issue because there is obviously going to be an Ardent Sensor, built early on Wolf, but also Tristana is one of the best AD carries at making that BF sword swap after the bottom lane turret is destroyed up into the top lane. So this bottom lane toll is actually paid by the entire team in attacks later on in the game once the switching comes through.
I mean, all RNG want is a 15-minute laning phase, a Rage Blade and Ardent Sensor, the turret's still up. That's winning the lane for Vayne Tarek, but it's so unlikely with Galio in the mid lane with push pressure and roam pressure. Some damage coming in from Xiaohu, but the kill pressure's going away. SKT's game plan is so reliable.
Yeah, you say that's all they want, but that's a lot to ask for. Here comes Blank though, mid lane.
The taunt hit confirms the knock. If this could be enough damage, Let's Bounce brings him right into the turn. The knockback there as well. Perfect coordination for the SKT duo, and a kill comes through to Blank.
Lane gank from Zach, and that's a big one that gets them rolling. They can roam bot lane, although Faker is out of mana. You're right, Kobe. It is a lot to ask for. The laning phase may be over pre-10 minutes. Blank goes for a little bit of a bomb into the mid lane.
But damage back and forth, not a huge issue. But you're seeing now SKT suddenly 400 gold up in this game. The bot lane still not able to get much. Yeah, Dazzle's cute, but doesn't do that very much here. Now Blank looks for some deep pressure. Says, never mind, I'll just put a ward down.
Yeah, one of the things that you always look for as a jungler, after a successful gank, especially on something like mid lane, when you push the minion wave in, it becomes a choice for the enemy jungler. Either they're going to have to go soak up that minion wave and reveal themselves on the map, thus giving up pressure in their jungle, or, they lose out on the minion wave completely and they try and keep themselves out of your vision. But SK Telecom, because the choice was made by MLXG to go soak up those minions, takes the opportunity to get deep wards on both sides of RNG's jungle because of the success in mid lane.
And the ward on the blue buff is so important because the longer it is there, Sejuani is bot side, because her first job, if she goes to the top side of her jungle, is to get the blue buff for Rise and help the Rise push in against the Galio, at least match the wave clear. So the longer that buff stays up, the pathing is pretty straightforward for SKT to dissect.
Looking at the blue buff right now on both these sides. The junglers here, the mid lane is coming by as well. Xiaohu right now has the inside track, looking for this play as Classic slingshots right back out. No vision right here. It's not the brush, but a nice smite. MLXG combos it well. But now Faker sees Xiaohu, gets the knockup, trades in a bit more damage, and the taunt actually turns into basically nothing. Faker just lets it go immediately, walks away.
Yep, it looks like they canceled the call for the 2v2 there. They have enough respect for the Sejuani, especially post level 6 here, and the Rise duo. Definitely fearsome. Bottom lane getting pushed in by RNG. Means that Uzi as well can roam.
We talked about that extended laning phase dream. It's kind of happening in the bot side. There's been no backs. There's no one-item punishment to match the one-item power trough, going for a pickaxe into a recurve, sitting on a recipe, and also the blasting one. So the longer RNG and SKT stay in parity in bot lane, the more it really does help out the Vayne, who has just now backed for the first time.
one of the biggest, beneficiaries has been this bottom lane, because as you talked about so many times, Papa Smithy, the Galio in the mid lane, such a big facilitator, could be the next straw here that breaks the camel's back and blows open that bottom lane turret. And once that domino falls, that's where you see the lane swaps coming in. But there's so much pressure on mid lane, they haven't found the opportunity.
Here comes the big play, the flash to stun up Faker. The rest of the team not going to come through just yet as the TP does come in for Let Me. Oh, Bounce brings him back in. Faker's been stopped. The ulti not quite going to land, but the rest of CC's still going to come through. Faker running for his life, but no summoners to save him now. The rest of the chase should be just a formality. And Uzi shows up crucially. 4 assists to give the Vayne a kill.
Thank you for the Rage Blade Fund. That one is going to come in for Uzi even quicker now as he roams up on the Vayne in time to get the last hit and still back down to the turret in time for the cannon minion.
Yeah, there's not really any punishment from SKT. They couldn't push the bot lane in fast enough. Camille was pushed in and too early for there to be a Tiamat that's going to be rushing towards the Trinity Force. You notice Blank gets the read very early because you see the duo come in. Blank could jump anywhere. He quickly realizes teleport's coming in. Taric and Vayne are going to win the race to pick him up in the mid lane. It's going to be 5 members and only Faker.
Yeah, the early teleport here from RNG. They know they have the advantage from the top lane because Let Me has quietly been doing his job there on the Maokai and had the teleport advantage. Fully orchestrated and well collapsed there to continue to attack Faker. Going to the source of the global, something we've been saying for 7 years, and is still very much viable.
But notice, we normally talking about Shen with no wave clear. Galio has the wave clear, so tanky. You don't normally see that being a winning style. In the bot lane, the turret's almost down his mid lane.
Looking for winning out into the mid lane, though the hard CC going to be landed and chained together. Look at the burst, a crowd on Zhao, who forced to run away. Does get knocked up, good aim by Faker. The rest of the team coming across, gets the shield, tries to one, he will just get out of range. Center to heal, buys a bit more time as he looks to turn it back in, but don't know if they have the damage to knock down Faker. I'm like, she's still in the chase, pops the ulti for him, but a nice top by some time. Blank back in, another shield comes through with the rise. Do you believe he stays alive?
I am thoroughly enjoying these 2v2s mid!
And they're gonna knock him down, so you have to believe it. No, they can't quite get the damage. Yes, they do. Will it be another? Not just quite, but the turret turns to the Cell division. But can you respect Galio's damage up? But now Wolf, he's hunting. He smells blood in the water. He's okay. Rise gets out. SKT 1 for 0 in that one.
I'm glad we could all enjoy that together as they were fighting down to, double-digit HP there from all sides, and SK Telecom slightly ahead in the execution. Meanwhile, now they can reap the rewards. Invade, get deep wards again, steal away the red, and Wolf even gets some free time to supplement with more wards.
And then switching the battlefield to top side, pushing the Maokai and taking Rift Herald is the next step, but suddenly we got a half step here, guys.
4 versus 2, no turret behind the TP stop, but it's still 3v2, turned invulnerable, buys a few seconds to knock him there, but Uzi's trying to stay alive, the barrier in, he's still surviving, and now he's turning it around, looking for Blank, looking for the chase down now into Bang, pops the ulti stun, gonna land, one or two of them in, but Faker gonna join, flashes forward, they won't quite catch up Blank, but now it's the Galio's turn to get the damage across. Shields coming in, and they can't find the kill. And Uzi to get his second 5-2 RNG.
And now they can push on this bottom lane turret. They can try and get the objective afterwards. It's RNG making the push.
The fans know it. It's such a big turning point. Let Me interrupting the teleport led on to everything that happened there for SKT. Sure, they could have another global, send in the teleport from Faker, but all the damage was not there, and they were not able to cement the kill onto Uzi.
Just like you alluded to last game, Papa Smithy. Let Me quietly doing his job in the top lane on that Maokai. Yet, 2 of the biggest moments in this game enabled by that Maokai.
On paper, perfect move from SKT. Notice Let Me still does not have teleport. Big teleport advantage from Huni, looking to cement the lead, kill off the Vayne, and from there, the damage really fell apart for RNG. But the interrupt was so critical, and then things fell apart very quickly for SKT.
I do want to give a lot of credit to Let Me. Blind picks his champion. No jungle help that I can remember on either side of that lane has been more impactful this game so far.
See the teleport coming in, perfect teleport ward put down from Blank as he bounced over, but just a twisted advance, maybe even a Q. Interrupts here, we'll see it, twisted advance, nice and easy, he was in vision. So Huni could have been more defensive on the teleport, went for an aggressive one, and then it came to this point where they just could not kill Uzi through heal and barrier.
and then they're on the chase. He knows that Blink doesn't have his passive, so Uzi was targeting the closest target there. Once he flashes out, able to kill Bang, and even though Faker arrives and gets that taunt off, not enough burst damage to take down the Vayne.
One rotation's not going to do it. They go to closest target. They go for this sort of fight they're looking for in the late game. It's focusing down on the front line. And SKT trying to take Rift Herald after all that pandemonium.
Looks like the team actually coming in to try to stop this, so MLXG is showing up, and that will be a reset on Rift Herald. The jump out, looks like actually it might just be a leash from SKT's side. Rage Blade done for Uzi, that's the big spike. Double dagger towards the Shiv or Phantom Dance, whatever he wants to buy for himself next up. But this is now a Vayne who is very much online.
Tristana, whose game plan with these double AD items and the Berserker Greaves is to just take down turrets. The defensive vision is sticking for RNG. They're going to get the Rift Herald as well. And the tempo moves from SKT to justify the draft they've gone for have not happened, just like game one.
Wanted more. No.
Yeah, exactly. RNG just want to reset there, whereas SKT are trying to delay them because they don't want to let RNG bring all of their power to brunt here on this top side. Xiaohu is on the bottom side, and they want to use the numbers advantage to grab back some turrets.
Cut. The big AoE slow comes across, doesn't mean all that much. They're still running away. Blank, actually, you gotta be kidding me! Drops down to the turret. I didn't think it was possible, but MLXG finds himself the kill. The re-engage that mid, but I don't think Hootie can beat Uzi 1v1.
MLXG threaded the ult onto the Tristana, and once again, no damage from SKT to actually force a kill. They just want the turret, but RNG have bought time, and they're also getting the free farm on Uzi in the mid lane.
A huge lapse in judgment there from Blank. Doesn't have the cell division to rely on, no passive available still yet. On that cooldown, in RNG, even with Xiaohu on bottom side, got a counter kill up on top. Let's take another look at how it started out. Let Me gets annihilated early, but MLXG is here.
The turret is the major objective, but the damage is largely Tristana cannot do anything while stunned. Faker is first tanking up. Another interrupt into the permafrost, threading the CC perfectly. Sometimes we see Sejuani use everything at the same time and lose out on duration and also those passive procs. Very nicely threaded by MLX.
Yeah, on second look there, Blank kind of gets left out to dry as he's stuck under the turret. When Faker flashes out, and turret aggro immediately switches over.
Yeah.
And then he gets, victim of Sejuani crowd control combo there.
He did have flash. I agree, it's hard to say, it's hard to blame him for it, but either way doesn't get out, and now Blank found once again, jumps away with a little bit of let's bounce, and pops the ulti, looks for the jump away, and is going to stay to safety, but loses two big cooldowns to the privilege.
This don't control that jungle cleanly, and bot side, we're seeing another aggressive move made.
The forced flash, yeah, Huni was not going to survive through a twisted advance, and the rest of CC had to use that.
With a drop, with Tristana Galio making a proactive play mid and bot lane at the same time means that SKT have lost all control over both sides of their jungle, and they're going to lose their mid lane turret first as well.
And we've talked so much about timings in Champs, so this is the timings where RNG are thriving. Their tank line on the two tank items feel extremely good. Rise here had such a good early game, already with the Abyssal Mass and now level 11, ready to exert his will. He basically bought time for Uzi to get this Rage Blade on Vayne, and RNG are looking to take advantage of the map.
Given the mindset to make all those plays mid lane, to try to play through the Galio that most teams would look at as a movable wall, it's credit to largely Xiaohu and MLXG, who found openings that often are not there against a Galio mid with this Rise especially, and it reset the pressure and means that Faker, he doesn't have a CS lead. He's died multiple times, and when he's made big plays around the map, he's been caught largely because he's not as tanky as he was, hilariously so, in Game 2.
Plus the thought here of RNG, if we talk about the composition and them trying to cover weaknesses, whenever you see two carries paired as Rise and Vayne, the initial reaction that Freak is talking about, and the problem with ranges is very much there, especially for those team fights. But layering Taric in there to try and cover that and grant them the immunity to actually ranges. Use those ranges and get in there could be the opening. That being said, you really have to have a very high level execution to play around the Taric ultimate, and we have Steam teams fail at that if that's their main win condition.
Phantom Dancer done. Even easier for Uzi to 1v1. Again, I don't think Huni actually wins the battle if he finds himself in a duel here. You wonder who can actually knock down this one. 0-0-0 so far. Hasn't gotten his way into the game yet. Only 3 kills for SKT. Baron spawning in 12 seconds. We know Taric's a good Baron killer. Vayne is the same boat here. And a slow push Rift Herald to the top lane. I don't think that Herald's going to die, so that will be top outer dying right as mid falls to the push from Bang. The expected job of that Tristana. Yeah, that will die to a single push. And well, no one's stopping it. Goodbye, turret. Meanwhile, fight on the top side, looking for Bang. They rid him up the chase forward. He blasts the safe, but one more shot will do him in. And Xiaohu finds it. Faker now amidst 4. The push is in. Do they have the damage they need to kill him off? The chase continues in, and he's not going to be long for the world. And they're invulnerable under the turret. That's going to be number 3. Cell Division be damned. They will get the damage. You've got to believe it'll happen. A double kill for the Vayne for Uzi 4-0-2.
And again, such intelligent shot calling here from RNG. They know they want to abuse their item power spikes right now, so they drop the Rift Arrow top as a distraction and run straight through mid.
This seems unstoppable now. Who's even going to block this Baron kill? It's Huni on a Camille just running away, taking Krugs. That's a secondary
Rift
prize.
Herald from ages ago. The Rift Herald's actually still alive. They're going to get the big brother of the Baron as well.
Sub 21-minute Baron pickup for almost 5,000 gold lead.
RNG had finished Phantom Dance and meant they were never going to control waves. They had to choose the right fight. This one was crisp.
Easily able to chase down Bang there. Uzi goes with the ultimate. Out of the knockup there for Faker, then re-engages, and they chase SK Telecom back to their own fountain.
And the moment the Bang dies first, you can hold the Cosmic Radiance for the turret dive because you no longer respect the damage from any source other than the turret. So they hold on to it. They can pick up the Zac through Cell Division. I love it when a team itemizes for a specific purpose and then executes on it instantly. They could have gone Shiv, they could have gone into the Hurricane and tried to wave clear. They were not interested in wave clear.
Faker and SK Telecom stopped Uzi in 2013. They stopped them just last year early on in quarters. But this time around, Uzi is coming for that final spot, and they are making a hard push here in game number 3 to make that happen.
It may be a historic matchup, but RNG have never taken 2 games in a best of 5 over SKT. To go up 2-1 would be history being written.
We've seen the 2-1s be turned back before here at Worlds. You can never count them until they hatch. But RNG hoping to count those chickens all the same, pushing into the mid lane, looking to end it with this Baron push. Sub 23 minutes to stun the back line. Bang jumping away. The wave's gone in the mid lane. They got to buy a little bit more time.
During this time, Huni is split pushing for SKT.
They bring in Let Me. He's kidnapped to the back line. Nobody's trying to put him in the fountain, though, buying a bit more. And now onto the turrets a little bit longer. The Cosmic Radiance buys a few more seconds as well. As Faker taking a lot of damage, forced away. Turret number 1 falls. The health bar's getting a bit low, though. They've got to respect this. There could be a 5v4 because Camille is still pushing. Huni is still answering the siege from RNG.
Xiaohu brought in the minion wave to try to finish the game, get the turret, because the spin push continues. Here's the turn.
The flash re-engage. Can they kill Faker? Because Camille is not stopping. They will knock down the mid lane. Unstoppable. Uzi is himself. And Wolf is going to be skinned as well. Here's the teleport now. Huni needs to keep his team alive. 5 versus 3 to win the game. To go up 2-1. Uzi on the fountain. Flashing away. Getting away from Huni. Looking for the damage up. But can they get rid of it? Yes, they can. No one left to stop them. RNG are a single game away from making history.
You can see the look on Bang's face. He is devastated. RNG once again against this Galio comp for the 3rd time in a row have those small timings, and just like SKT in game 2, RNG exploded the game. One single team fight with 2-item Uzi. That passage of play, it ended the game.
No hesitation from RNG on that Rift Herald play. They drop it at their secondary turrets and immediately make a beeline towards mid lane. Bang with his head in his hands because he knows that pick on him in mid lane gave them the entire power play for this game.
Very few teams in the world can say they beat SKT in under 24 minutes. RNG can add themselves to this list, and now 2-1 up in this series. Double match point to stop the legacy of SKT winning every world championship they ever attend. They are on that precipice of absolute greatness.
And I feel like SKT, it's time to abandon the Galio. RNG aren't going to ban it. 2 out of 3 times they tried. Galio, Zac, they tried to make the tempo plays, but it fell apart in this game, much the same as it did in game 1. And the game ended in 1 passage of play before the items could ever get there for the Tristana.
Well, beautiful stuff out of RNG so far. Double match point for them. We'll see if they can finish the dethroning. But first, let's talk to our analysts.
Thank you very much. Gonna have to get my hearing checked after this series.
Goodness.
This crowd, this stadium, loudest crowd I've ever experienced in my life, as they are one game away from watching RNG take down the defending champions SK Telecom T1.
And Dash, when we were watching this draft, and we were watching them not get Janna because it's banned, because they early picked Vayne with Tarek while Lulu was still up, because they picked Ryze into Galio instead of Malzahar. We thought it was over and that SKT had broken RNG in draft phase. So the fact that RNG won in 23 minutes blows my mind. That game was insane.
And it's literally the most classic LPL thing I've ever seen. They throw away the draft. I was literally head in hands, this is over, there's no way RNG come back from this, and then they just start winning all these skirmishes and all of these trades and forcing the fights and just outplaying their opponents. And I'm still sitting here like, I'm like a proud, disappointed
My heart is
parent.
still pounding.
Proud and disappointed. Quite the combo.
How dare you draft yourself into this hole and then outplay it? You're like, this is great, this is fine.
I mean, it is crazy to think that they're giving up a 4th pick Lulu as Tarek Vayne into Tristana Lulu, and that was okay. It ended up working out, right? And I do think, similarly to how we talked about that 2v2 in the bottom lane, I felt that this game again came down to the bottom lane, and it was actually the dive where Huni had his TP interrupted, where that goes bad. That's where the game, to me, started to turn around. But it's crazy how these games really are coming down to this one play.
If that's where you think it turned, let's take a look at it, because it all comes down to execution, right? Throughout this tournament, yes, we've talked about the importance of draft and tracking the way the teams will adapt to each other. But hey, on the day, this is the comp RNG decided to play, and they played it perfect.
And the big thing there is the teleport got interrupted. Otherwise, Uzi is dead 100%. But because he's not, the Terracult saves enough damage on Uzi. He can pop barrier and he can start turning this one around.
And I mean, the crazy thing is, they're counting on that TP coming in so much. Blank is walking in with like 30% health.
Flash forward.
Yeah, and I'm going to give some credit to Jat right here. We were watching this draft, and he actually called the Vayne pick. The Vayne whisper, if you will. And the thing is that if you're 80 carry, if Uzi is saying, I have the confidence, give me the Vayne, because we're now learning how much more the players are interactive with this draft phase. It's exactly that play there, why Uzi has the confidence. You're a game equalized with SKT, you're looking down the barrel of Tristana and Lulu, and you're like, Vayne, that's fine.
And it usually costs them when Uzi gets in that mindset. You can tell by the way he's speaking to his coach that he's going to get what he wants, and he did. But I do also want to point out that this game was an example of why SKT plays around Huni rather than the other way around. Because early on in the game, we were expecting Tristan Lulu to break that turret in 7 minutes. They didn't, because Huni teleported back to lane at 5 minutes, which gave RNG the teleport advantage, and it meant that Trist Lulu couldn't push. There, in that clip we just saw, he got his teleport interrupted, which gave Uzi yet more kills with which he could transition. So Huni's poor use of teleport really cost SKT in the early game here.
But they obviously have so much confidence in him. Even when you're looking at those late game plays, they're deciding that we're going to try to give Huni all this gold in his side lane, get him those couple turrets, and that's our way back into the game. They didn't have confidence that they would actually win this game in a 5v5 team fight, and that's why I feel like they made that game-ending call to try to hold 4v5.
And we'll get into Game 4 in just a moment, but before we get there, I want to stop down and take a moment to celebrate the level of play that's taking place on this stage. We have to remember we're in the semifinals. These are the top 4 teams in the world, some of the best players in the world, and there was a very distinct moment in this game, 2v2 in the mid lane. It just was so exciting to watch. We got to watch it again.
But who has the courage to go toe-to-toe with SKT in the mid lane 2v2? And it's Xiaohu and MLXG. Welcome to Shanghai, SKT, because we do this all the time in the LPL, and this play showcases why they're so comfortable doing it.
Yeah, well, Xiaohu had heal and flash, ends up baiting the heal, but this ends up getting turned around for SKT because they still have a lot of ability to outplay in these team fights. Faker's timing of the tauntament to get the damage reduction in the exact right time extends this fight long enough that they can then turn around on MLXG, who ended up over-chasing Faker.
I mean, it's the body block by Blank there as well to prevent another spell coming through on the Ryze. It's the fact that Xiaohu had the confidence to hold those 2 summoner spells as long as he did to pull them in for the counter gate. Everything in that executed pretty much perfectly by these 4 players on the world stage in one of the biggest games of their lives.
And we're seeing so many myths dispelled throughout the series. The fact that Galio is being given away, that Ryze is being picked up, no longer getting the criticism that they've had this entire tournament. How dare you pick Ryze? How dare you let Galio go? Both these teams are fine to do that.
Yeah, Galio 3 games in a row. But now we're kind of at that moment again, Dash.
We're at that moment.
Isaac mentioned at the start of the day, they are 7-0 in Worlds elimination games. Last week, they were down 2-1 to Misfits, won the next two. They bend but don't break has been the motto. The question is, were they broken in that game?
All right, I got some info for you. SKT coming back in on blue side, and Peanut will be
Ooh.
subbing in. Now, we've already talked about the statistics around those elimination games, but SKT has to put back-to-back wins together here to take the series. How do they do it?
And the big question to me is this reactive to the draft? Because we've been seeing blue side Gragas bans for RNG. They're trying to put you in this kind of tank versus an inferior tank matchup. And Peanut is a guy who, yes, this year he has been on the tanks, but he made his name for himself playing carries. Do they have the confidence to let Peanut fly? Do you bring him in and say, great, ban out the Gragas, take the Swedge on. We're going to put him on a carry champion. We're going to put him in a position to snowball the game early and see if he can do it.
You might recall Olaf games from previous Worlds.
Lee
He's
Sin
racking
games,
up
the
the
Elise
kills,
games.
things like that. It's a really good question. Where do they index now if 3 games in a row they've been putting resources into Huni and only won one of them?
I want to kind of combine these two ideas. I agree. I think you let Peanut off the chain, you give him more of a carry-oriented jungler, but you prioritize the 2v2 top jungle matchup, and you start throwing Peanut and all of the resources that go with him into Huni's pocket, and you double down on what got SKT to this semifinal, which was a split push performance by Huni.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that blue side has won all 3 games, and that's
a good point.
There has been close drafts, and execution has decided that. But one thing blue side has had more control over is which jungler they get, and we've seen poor jungle picks on the red side all 3 games. Zac, and Nocturne have been on the losing side these times. So what I want to see from RNG now that they're back on blue side is that was correct.
No,
right?
no, SKT's on blue, RNG is on red.
Sorry. With SKT back on blue side, I want to see fewer jungler bans by RNG, so they get a power pick jungler, the Gragas, the Jarvan, or the Sedge, on the rebound after the first part of the draft happens, because I do not want to see them starved in jungle picks again.
I mean, spotlight on the jungle matchup then while we watch Peanut get set up. It's an unusual position for him to be in, the one subbing in for Blank, who was the starter.
It's just such an enormous amount of pressure, right? And hearing Peanut speak in some of these interviews, you can tell that the pressure is getting to him, that he has lost some confidence in his own play. He's unhappy with how he's playing, and this would be such a momentous comeback for him to be able to come in, reverse sweep, not reverse sweep, but come back in this series and actually capitalize on some of this momentum.
It's the Bengi. Bengi comes in when you're down 2-1. That's the SKT. Peanut had it done to him last year in the semifinals by Bengi. He's got to do it now.
You
But
got to
it's
live
also-
up to that. That's hard to do.
Yeah, Peanut has to diversify himself, though, and show that he can do exactly what Blank did, which was download the opponent's jungle pathing. And he's looking at Imalek Shi, who's probably the most random jungler to ever play the game.
I can feel the excitement coming off of these 3 right here. Royal Never Give Up are 1 win away from bringing down SKT. See if they can close out or if the champs can tie the series after the break.
Can't know what
I don't know what happens.
This one, the flash forward. He's going for the big play. One more attack. Xiaohu heals. One more hit. First blood in the mid lane. Looking for Blank. Looking for the chase down now on the bank. Pop Yogi's done going to land. One or duo men, but Faker going to join. Flashes forward. Chase continues in, and he's not going to be long for the world. And they're invulnerable under the turret. That's going to be number 3. Sun stopping. They will knock down the mid lane. Unstoppable. Lucy is himself. And Wolf is going to be skinned as well. RNG are a single game away from making history.
If you want to follow the best of the Rift, then you need T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. We've doubled our coverage so you can stream Worlds in more places than ever before. With T-Mobile, don't miss a moment from the first battle, all the way to the lifting of the Summoner's Cup. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.
Welcome back to Game 4 of defending world champions SK Telecom T1 versus the Chinese LPL's Royal Never Give Up. You're seeing the SKT coach Koma right now. He's got 3 championships under his belt. This would be number 4 if he could win this and again next weekend. But for now, it's their backs against the wall. RNG up 2-1 in this series. Double match point to be the only team to ever take down SKT at Worlds.
I mean, yeah, they've been over the stats, right? They're 7-0 in elimination matchups, but they would have to win 2 right now, back to back. And in that last game, we saw RNG pulling off that victory with Uzi's Vayne. You know, he played Uzi, or I mean, Uzi played Vayne versus SK Telecom way back in 2013, 2 times.
Yep.
He lost both times, but he never gave up, and he found his victory here.
It's so interesting. Peanut coming in also, first time he's ever been subbed into a best of 5 is an intriguing one. His champion pool in summer, it doesn't really fit the Cinderhawk meta. Our idea of who Peanut is as a jungler doesn't fit into the more tanky side. He said in interviews he's happy to play the Sejuani. I think that's a very likely first pick for SKT. They're on the blue side. But will it just be RNG having their first visit to the Galio? And will Peanut be able to find the sort of space that he's going to look for if he's going to impact the series?
You can definitely see the stress from SK Telecom. This is not an expected move here. The story of Peanut has not been a happy one, you know, this summer. And for him to come back in now on an elimination game, this would be a huge setup for a redemption story for him. If he is able to come in and save this series for SK Telecom, that would be one of the most heartwarming stories for a jungler we've seen in a long time.
And that's the thing. Bengi last year grew that relationship as a closer, that reputation of being a closer from his play at Worlds largely. Blank has been that player this year. You don't think of Peanut in that same sort of way, but you wouldn't have thought of Blank last year. This is where he can write his part of the SKT history. Or this is where one of the most famous stories, SKT's long love affair and consistent success at Worlds may come to an end.
Absolutely. The players change, but the results have always stayed the same for SKT. Want to give everyone at home a quick update. We're replacing a cable on the stage for one of the computers for one of the players, so we do have a short couple-minute delay. Of course, we will get into Game 4 as soon as we can. We had seen earlier Uzi's stats in the Vayne had done so well, and you had mentioned, it's something I want to bring up, Peanut's typical champion pool does not suit the metagame, the styles we've seen from most teams in the summer split. But as anything we've learned over the last couple of weeks of the World Championship, the metagame doesn't always seem to matter. It's playing the style and the champions, the strategies you think make sense. There's several Vayne games coming out of Uzi now, the Leona victory out of Wolf in Game 2 over there. You can take your own style into the game, and as long as you know how to play that and pilot that gameplay, it can work for you.
Thus far, when we've seen Peanut, though, he's had to be a good boy and play the meta tanks.
Sure.
Jarvan, Sejuani, Gragas.
Only.
He toes the line here. Now, you talk about letting Uzi kind of unravel his wings and play Vayne, and RNG kind of embracing their natural style there. For SKT, if they were to sub in Peanut and let him play one of those types of champions, that would be the most ridiculous kind of show of respect and show of confidence of the team, maybe all time even.
And in spring season in MSI, they did straddle the line a bit. You could play Elise back then. The Olaf games were famous. He popped off on Lee Sin during MSI, hit all those kills in the early game. It was a different time. But you could play Elise in this meta. It's a specific thing. You could try to make it work. His Nidalee hasn't been seen outside of solo queue. Also a famous pick. But have they actually spent their scrim time splitting between the two and trying to play to his strengths? Or is he forced into that supportive box that Bengi, that Blank are largely known as?
And whatever champion he does end up with, how will this affect that 2v2 mid lane we've been so focused on and has been so important? Faker has been playing out of his mind on a Galio, but Faker, as we said, this is one of the players with the deepest champions pools at the entire tournament. Does SK Telecom need to make a different look here of composition?
They need to play Faker carries us style, right? Does he have to be the damage source? Because it's been Bang and Huni on the damage threats, 3 tanks in a row for Faker. Galio we know is very good. It's a strong champion. Almost every team would love to pick the champion and play around it. But if that style does not work in this game, then a new style must be shown.
And I don't feel like SKT want to leave Galio open on red side. on blue side, you do have more of the freedom to ban it away, but leaving it open and having potentially Uzi return to one of his hyper carries and get to that mid to late game power is not necessarily an appetizing thing for them to opt into. They've played it 3 times themselves, but picks and bans, even just the first set of bans, and what that actually leads to an invitation when it comes to, is the Sejuani up? Do they go for the Jarvan? The jungle matchup really has been the pivotal one, because it's been 2 games of MLXG helping his mid and top lane respectively get ahead, compared to 1 game of Blank really being able to set the pace of game 2.
And one more note on the screen, of course, looking at junglers here. Peanut is still getting set up. As we know, he's been subbed in here for this crucial game 4 backs against the wall. So I think his computer's still getting ready. I've been told about 2 minutes, maybe 1.5 now at this point, until we are ready to get in the game. So pretty shortly we will be having this one for you. Again, backs against the wall. SKT must win 2 straight. Their current record in elimination at World 0 and 7, that would have to be, sorry, 7-0, and they would have to make that now 9-0 if they can close out this series.
And again, back to our conversation of discussing changes in strategy and champions and the look for SK Telecom. If you break down actually what we've seen from RNG here, and everyone talking about how the style that RNG have shown all tournament long of Uzi on a late game carry, playing for those later game team fights, him doing the brunt of the work here, carrying damage shares in team fights. In this series, it has been Xiaohu who actually has a higher damage percentage than Uzi. You know, he had a very successful game there on Rise. Xiaohu's got 30% of the team's damage so far in this series compared to Uzi's 25. So even RNG are taking this series with a different look than they have the rest of the tournament. And you see flickers of the old RNG and flickers of some LPL style, them bringing it back here. They are a diverse set of players here that are remaining dynamic. I mean,
It's been so interesting having them really be heavily on the Uzi train, but MLXG hasn't played around bot lane this tournament. We remember all the games with Tristana Soraka where they'd push up, Soraka gets ganked predictably, MLXG is off in the top side. I think he was largely ineffectual making map plays in the quarterfinals, but his play around Xiaohu, remember the older story. This has been a Worlds where the recent form has mattered, but the storylines from the summer LPL and LCK have mattered as well. It was MLXG playing through mid and then Xiaohu unlocking the map. Xiaohu has been able to do that this game. It's been more about that duo than the stall until Uzi is online.
Yeah, it's been that sort of pay it forward story where jungler ganks for the solo laners, and then the solo laners with globals can go to the bottom and give credit for that extra pressure to this side of the map.
We are ready now for champion select in game 4. Will this be the end of SKT's era, or do they pull it back as they always have so many times before? Sejuani immediately off the table. They will not give that over to MLXG. It's the only champion he's won on so far this series. Unsurprisingly, the Kalista dropped out on red side as well.
Interesting to see a blue side ban of the Sejuani. Specifically, the Sejuani has been a good pick for Peanut in the Cinderhawk meta, so opting out of it as a first pick means that Jarvan seems to be more likely their first pick champion.
And it makes me think that SK Telecom don't want to give up on the Galio train that they've been full steam ahead with here.
Sure.
So, because they don't want to give the Sejuani back on the other side of that to RNG, we'll have to take a look and see if it does actually turn out this way, though, because as you mentioned, the Jarvan is a huge pick for MLXG, for Royal Nevergood. That is a champion where, speaking of dynamic players, you know, he was known for going for level 2 ganks. You know, red buff right into early pressure. Like, this guy definitely has a lot of looks.
His pathing on the Jarvan can be so creative. His EQ combo to interrupt the rocket jump we saw in the quarterfinals was memorable as well. So with all those options, sort of pick that's likely to be first pick if up for SKT. Start to think about first pick, given that Lulu has been deprioritized as a first pick champion. Tristana taken away as well. And the Rakan, interestingly, is the ban. So Xayah is open as well.
It's another situation where I think RNG don't want to have to pick Rakan in the first round red side and say you can take Xayah if you want to, but they don't want to grab it for themselves. So that same Twitch, Tarek, Lulu, all those situations still available. Galio, not a huge surprise. And Jarvan, Gragas as jungle trades easily available for SKT.
Going to chalk so far, as we expected. They stick to that Galio. Now, they still have the possibility of throwing in an extra wrinkle because Galio could be swapped to top lane. However, I don't expect that to happen.
The only time we saw it was at MSI when the champion had just been reworked, was not a common pick at all in the top lane. Maybe one game in all of LCK somewhere, and it wasn't Huni. So expected to be a mid laner like you mentioned, Kobe, and no surprise that Jarvan takes the early impact here. It feels like Chinese region had the highest priority consistently on the Jarvan during summer season. It is technically the flex pick, even if we heavily expect MXG to take it as, well, they're happy to opt into what they expect to be the mid lane matchup very early.
And a lot of counter-pick priority as well. So many teams would rush pick the Lulu if you look at the earlier pick stats. Oh, Janet's at the table. We need Lulu. She's so important. Play the hyper carry scaling. And they would rather wait to see the bot lane react to what SKT is showing. It is Lulu themselves. They are playing much more now in the later games to the tournament metagame.
Now, the Taric is still up as well, and that kind of gives you comfort if you still want an Ardent Sensor user, and RNG can utilize that pick from the bottom side. But look at that. Lulu Kog'Maw is one of the most feared combinations in League of Legends on this patch.
And what are they saying now? SKT, for the first time this series, is saying, all right, we've tried to play early to mid game 3 times. They're opting into late game scaling here. Galio as a bridge and Kog Lulu, one of the most famous duos of AD carry and support of all time. I think SKT are slowing down the pace and opting into a longer game.
And this is a huge point. We need to elaborate on why this combination is so big, because it is that big of a pick. Kog'Maw as Rageblade synergizes so well with Ardent Sensor, as we talked about before. So once you complete this single item, the Lulu not only provides the extra speed for the Kog'Maw to play frontline, to play aggressively with the extra shields and with that extra speed, that you get the most out of all those synergies we talked about earlier with Ardent Sensor, with the Rageblade, stacking each other up.
Throw in Wild Growth, throw in speed, throw in also the Galio ultimate, and a frontline Kog'Maw is a possibility for the side of SKT. They haven't over-indexed into something like a Juggernaut yet. They're leaving options open. Ezreal actually banned on the red side. Of course, one of those dueling aggressive junglers we've seen a little bit at once.
That's what I was going to call our attention to, is we haven't seen the jungle pickup yet for Peanut. What is he going to play exactly? You've got to expect. Sure, the metagame is the metagame. We all know the tanks are a big deal, but Gragas just being left on the table. They don't think Peanut's going to do that, even though it was, to my knowledge, his most played of the entire summer split. They think it's the carry style that they want to bring out of him.
It's an old pick for him, but Freak, he has not played a single game of Nidalee on SK Telecom T1. He's played none of it because the meta moved away from it, and yet it's a read that it fits so well into the team comp, they couldn't allow Peanut to take it.
You can tell where RNG are coming from. The only thing they're scared of from Peanut is if they saw Rox Peanut come out in this game.
Yep.
If they saw Rox Peanut, then that would be something that would be worth banning out here. And they spent 2 bans on early game aggressive junglers just because of that jungler swap.
At least still up, though, if he wants to play that kind of style here. They've already got a tank in the mid lane.
But then they have so much magic damage. They are heavily indexing on magic damage. If it was Rox Peanut, you would have expected the Elise, but Gragas seems likely, even though it's on the magic side. We're going to see the Gnar locked
and
in,
after it all,
the Gragas as well. Gragas can do some interesting things to Twitch and Soraka in team fights if he can separate the threats. The Gnar is an important one. It may be a blind pick, it may be against the Jarvan. When he came in 2 games down against Longzhu in the LCK final, it was the Gnar. He was able to take down Camille from Khan in that particular game. So it is kind of a good luck omen for SKT.
I think the Gragas does fit really well in with protecting Kog'Maw, one of the few junglers that does have another disengage.
Ooh, Rumble gonna make his entrance. A high damage team out of Royal Never Give Up. The only tank gonna be that Jarvan from MLXG, and he's got Warrior earlier this series. Soraka to keep them healthy though if they can.
And a lot of possibilities here for RNG actually spiking on just a couple of items. Rumble, Rise can both excel in that scenario, even though you think of, oh yeah, Twitch always needs to scale up and get crit multipliers going. They have so much that could be carried by strong solo lanes earlier.
And so many tasty options for MLXG to gank, even mid lane with Rise and Jarvan. We saw a mid lane focus last game. It's possible here, but swinging top lane or bot lane, there are 3 options. However, you see the Soraka on the side of RNG. You expect that SKT will try to play around bot side.
Well, speaking of bot side, though, I think there's a couple of important things to think about here. You talk about a sped-up Kog'Maw, getting Whimsy, getting the shield, getting Ardent Sensor, slowed down permanently by a Rumble Ultimate, shot at from long range by the extended reach of Twitch Ultimate here out of Uzi. It might be hard, even though you have a Lulu and Gragas and Galio, to just be a Kog'Maw against RNG's composition. Depending on execution, it always depends on this. Bang might not get to do much in a team fight.
That's exactly why I like that last pick, Rumble. Not only can you go into the Gnar and try and make that arms race for the first item, but also making Kog'Maw move in team fights rather than auto attack during the W cooldown.
Really important thing to point right here. Bang actually did go Storm Raider Surge on Kog'Maw. I think it is by far the best team fighting Keystone choice. With a slower resistance, he can actually get through that Rumble ultimate.
Exactly. That's why we put so much emphasis on speed, because you want to abuse that W cooldown for Kog'Maw, and that's why Lulu's such a good combination. You can make the offensive plays during that heightened time of power.
And this is the time to shine above all else. If there was ever a game for RNG to win in the career of their team, it is this one right now. 2-1 up against the defending world champions. The dynasty of SKT, the team that could almost never be truly dethroned. And maybe RNG can do it here.
Dynasty may not end with a loss here, but the Odyssey would. You know, the short-term story would end. It would be the end of that undefeated streak. So that's why you hear so much quiet around the crowd. They know they may be seeing history in the making.
Exactly. Even the possibility of SKT getting knocked out this early would be such a huge part of history. The continued dominance of SK Telecom is something to marvel at. Multiple years here, different patches, different metas, different competitors. They've overcome them all in the past. But now they face a new one.
It's going to be fun to watch for just how they can do. SKT's backs against the wall. They know this is the moment that they must seize. And actually going to get a red buff leash pretty easily out from Let Me. We'll see pretty similar stuff for Peanut on his own red side.
I want to talk a bit about the draft from SKT. It still has the spirit of some of the previous drafts, as Uzi had a ward on the red, and at least try and harass down this Raptor start. Denying the super leash here, RNG.
Best they can, and looks like none of them got stolen away. Just the one small Raptor towards Faker himself. Peanut still going to be easily able to grab this red buff and level up pretty much on pace.
And, you know, whenever that happens, even by accident, you have to talk about the experience gain in mid lane and being able to hit level 2 earlier. MLXG, though, as we talked about on Jarvan, Papa Smithy, going for a very early play here.
Peanut had to use Flash because of the low patience meter on the red buff. So he's actually, so he used Smite, on the red buff. So it's down right now, and MXG's smelling blood at the blue buff.
I think he does see Peanut, goes for the knockup, finds some damage. Red buff on me, he got some damage out, but Peanut running towards the blast code, gonna stay alive on this. MLXG able to smite away and take one of the wolves. Takes number 2, takes number 3, gets an entire camp away.
Wonderful multi-step invasion plan, denying the super leash by contesting the Raptors, and also, with the smite being forced, counter jump.
Not only does he take away a camp, not only does he get to counter jungle, but he secures the top half of the map for Let Me on this Rumble. Gnar into Rumble is notoriously easily swung by junglers, and could be an area of focus for him to kind of isolate this issue.
Does create some safety here, but it does mean, though, that Peanut is on the bot side, and being an Uzi should give them a little bit of respect right here. Looking at their wards early on, they don't have just more than a single river ward here.
See Jarvan actually pathing through mid, trying to get onto the blue, already confirmed by Peanut. They want to try and catch him, and he's gone for the steal.
Thing is here, not going to land the slow, but does block the bot. It's in for a few seconds, but watch out, the rest of the squad is here. Peanut gets out safely.
Again, smart move here from Peanut to go towards the bottom lane that doesn't have crowd control. He doesn't want to walk through the Dragon Pit. He doesn't want to go anywhere towards upriver, moves immediately into the Soraka, so ends up not even having to blow his flash and gets away with that blue buff trade.
Now, keeping track of the junglers, MLXG has taken one extra camp. He got the entire wolf camp and the blue buff. Peanut only stole the blue, so there is less farm available to the SKT.
And it's also the control freak. It's also that they're deciding where the game is being played. They're allowing Rumble to overextend and get his first item, at least get safe CS on the top side, and not have to worry about Gnar potentially being able to take his sort of lane control. And on the bot side, they end the vertical jungling early to also provide coverage for the Soraka.
Exactly. Early game control, early game vision is such a step-by-step snowballing process that now it affords Let Me the easy access there up into the jungle, and he'll again have deep vision on his side.
Here we go, looking back at the state of the game right here. Only 100 difference. That's pretty much what a jungle camp is worth, so no surprise that's the mark. We're seeing bot lane trade equal, mid lane similarly, top also. Let Me gonna be, looks like, receiving the wave shortly. I'm actually not able to kill the ward, but does spot Faker, and of course Faker can easily mess with the Raptor camp. Q on cooldown, pulls it away.
And a common trend for Faker to at least invade top side to try and get pressure and information for Huni in particular. This time it won't be a gank attempt onto the Rumble, but at least lets him know where MLXG is at, and they actually invest a pink ward, a control ward here, to try and add that extra bit of doubt to Gnar as he starts to overextend naturally in the Gnar versus Rumble matchup.
Meanwhile, while they have vision of MLXG on the top side, Peanut is working on the bottom half of the map, and he's zoning off Uzi and MLX. Oh, they've actually cut him off.
Spotted again. Here comes the damage up, and aggro pulled right there. They're going to get a bit of damage across. A couple of summoners burned, but Wolf forced a flash away. 2 summoners on each side use the defensive ones for RNG, and the flash out from Wolf.
They're on vision very smartly there. They had 2 wards in the blue side jungle, knew there was no chance that Java would be on that side, weren't able to pick up the kill.
And the punishment is MLXG takes away 1 or 2 more camps, got 2/3 the Wolves, getting the crop the first time around. Peanut might just repeat his attempt here, and remember, no barrier or heal left now.
There is a teleport for Rumble, but that would be the only assistance that would be able to join this bottom lane. Uzi and Ming just focusing on that minion wave to try and clear out any possibility of a dive.
And because it's been trading down, not picking up camps, it's actually going to be level 5, I believe, from MLXG, either from the Scuttle Crab or just after. Yeah. So the price of making all those repeated ganks with no actual kill involved and even losing both summoners on Wolf is pretty severe for the brothers.
And Uzi's getting away with a pretty greedy opening. Yes, he's down a little bit in farm, but he went for the Relic Shield start versus the Doran Shield of Bang right here. So doing a pretty good job of just further shoving Ming ahead, giving him an extra farm, and the power spike probably comes in first for the RNG bot lane as a result.
MLXG has tried to set the pace of this game with the assistance of his team, and largely it has worked out. Peanut has been corralled into only making plays around a Relic Shield, Twitch and Soraka that clearly are looking for a non-interactive lane. So the pressure game is being dictated by RNG, which is a great start for them.
Exactly, it's a bottom lane that is expecting his presence. They've corralled him is a perfect word, as there's only a small area of Peanut's jungle that is not covered by RNG vision. The snowballing effect, that domino effect we talk about of the vision, has continually been replaced by RNG as each ward expires.
We've seen Let Me several times walk down into that jungle, put the wards down, get rid of blast points if he sees them. MLXG doing the same thing. I mean, really smart setups right here to punish some of the moves of SKT, red buffs, and the like respawning as Peanut 5 on his way to 6.
And the coolest thing is it all came from the level 1. They got control over topside because they invaded first the Super Leash and also forced a smite out of Peanut given the timings. Then they control topside, and Rumble being able to push out of lane and ward is not commonplace in the Gnar versus Rumble matchup. So it was all designed pre-game and executed beautifully by RNG.
So much of the next few minutes of this game will be determined by those solo laners as well. Top laners have not gone back for a purchase yet, even though teleports are available. If you think of Rumble level 6 ultimate, you know, could be a huge game changer for a bottom lane fight. Those will be coming to play without those purchases.
It's true. So far, the top laners pretty poor, haven't gone back yet. TP, of course, a vitally important cooldown now. Can't be used to go back to lane anymore without giving up a ton of map pressure. RNG actually get to see 1 ward for themselves. The first one barely missed it, but looking again at the chance of an invade, they know the blue buff is up, and once again, they're going for the steal. Peanut is around, he's got the vision on it as well. Does he get the smite? No, MLXG grabs it. Could not hand it over to Xiao, who he would have been outsmited by Peanut.
But again, Let Me has lane control, would have had first roam on the Rumble and the long range of the Equalizer, even if something like the Hero's Entrance was invested. So the timing was perfect by RNG.
And this continued invasion here from RNG is so much about limiting the options for Peanut. So they know that all he has left now is a cross map over to their own blue, which is protected by a Scuttle Crab. Currently, he's making his way in there, but it's so dangerous that he has to make the early game work here. He gets the Scuttle Crab first, so a possible speed boost if he has to make a hasty exit.
All right, and TP goes to lane for Mahoney, so if there is a skirmish on the bot side, he is not able to join. They're relying on Faker to tip that balance to the mid side then.
Exactly as we talked about. RNG, he's playing right into their hand. They know they limited his options so heavily that this is the only one, and they have the Rise in the mid lane. They have Xiao, who's been retaining that mid lane control. That means he'll also retain control of blue buff, which then is going to be able to snowball into more. Oh, never mind.
He was going to die to red. He put in 1 too many autos, and he knew it was going to time out. Said, sorry, Xiao, I screwed it up. He gets some honey fruit, but it's just not as good. The crowd knows. You hear the murmurs. MLXG, this was the game. You denied a blue from Rise.
Well, he's trying to use it to good use. Comes into a control ward. It's not spotted yet, but good bot lane sense by Bang & Wolf.
He's coming down through and doing good damage. One more auto. He'll get Storm Raiders running a bit fast, and MLXG they're back to dodge from this. An ulti for wave clear, it looked like. That was a little strange out of Let Me. Seemed a bit strained. Maybe he had smart cast on, didn't realize it, but seemed out of place. As Smite gets rid of some of the Krugs, and MLXG continues to take some of the camps away from Peanut. Retains that 1-level lead.
SKT clearly opting into longer laning phase. It was a late cull coming through from Huni around 8 minutes, so happy to continue going. Texture of the comp is different with the comp more Lulu, so more trust in the late game damage.
This elimination game has been the calmest early game we have had all series long here. We haven't even seen Faker on Cali, who's been roaming constantly in all of the other games. Make side lane moves. Xiaolu here on the rise has kept him in place, at least for the time being.
Well, here comes the attempt in the mid lane. Xiaolu cutting around the flash to rejoin. Here's the ulti to find some damage on a Faker. Jumps right back out, knows it's not a fight they can win. RNG down a flash for that play though.
Seemed unnecessary from MLXG. There wasn't going to be kill pressure there. Decided to invest everything, flash and ultimate, to make something happen. SKT walk away. They trade up in terms of summoners.
Yeah, MLXG thought there was going to be a more commitment from SKT than there was there. See if this does come back to haunt them, because those summoner spells for that duo has been incredibly important. Now he's half health, walking down and chasing Peanut out of his own jungle.
Fight for the Grump. Smite won by Peanut. Fight comes in. RNG is here. No silence to be had. The knockup is over. But overall he goes. Finds the body slam. Explosive cast back into the squad. But look at that from MLXG. The flag and drag perfectly buffered to get back to safety.
No ultimate meant they couldn't lock down. That's why things went longer. If that cooldown was up, maybe things are different. He gets out. But SKT, for the first time, have a bit of a nose ahead when it comes to the jungle matchup.
Baker also, completes his recall during that invade, so they were not planning on diving in there. Here we go, Hoodie with the trade onto Let Me. Significant.
Pretty solid damage. The shield comes back in, and once again, an ulti for wave clear. I was told, just like the last one, it has been wave clear equalized for Let Me, doing just that to the farm.
Means the turret HP is more and more likely to stay high, so at the end of the day, doing his best to keep the turret up.
Service minions.
Big assist coming through his mid lane.
Ooh, big knockup there for Faker. Now in a 1v2, pulls in the taunt, does not get the knockup. Good shoot there. And here comes Peanut around the wings. They've got to be a bit careful. Double body slam, a bit of a slow, and here comes Hero's entrance. Wish! Just the health bar, they walk away anyway.
Well, everybody's been on the receiving end of an annoying Soraka ultimate before. Maybe we'll see SKT prioritize some grievous wounds early on, because Ming and this Soraka pick have been so big for RNG at this Worlds tournament, and it can be answered.
They see the grand entrance be used, and that's why they feel like they can go on the front foot, try to contest the red buff here from Peanut.
Good smite. Peanut actually doing a really good job with these smite fights. I think he's won every straight-up duel that's been available to him. Sometimes he's been down, but otherwise a pretty good job. Pharaoh gets a bit more, and maybe looking for the play here. Faker has the taunt ready. This could be the first kill of the game. The knockups continue on. MLXG goes to the knockup, and there are no more spells to land. A couple of getting himself a red and first blood in an exciting game.
Faker ran out of mana, was in position to put down the Winds of War. Ran out of mana, they ran out of damage, and actually, Peanut falls.
Again, the mid lane jungle, 2 versus 2. So critical in this early game. First blood and so much control going over to RNG.
The decision to go back in with the Cataclysm, low health, realizing in the moment that SKT did not have the damage to pick up the kill. We're going to see the replay. Faker starts this with 1 spell's worth of mana, and that ends up being the big crux for SKT not being able to pick up the kill.
They saw the low health Jarvan. They wanted to punish his flashless body here, but he's able to position the flag and get on the other side, so also getting the knockup and buying Xiaolu time to finish off Peanut.
Big deal right there. 1,400 gold now, the lead for Royal Never Give Up. Certainly the Relic Shield, it's earned about 575 so far, so you can say half the gold lead is the Relic Shield start, but if it works, it works. RNG, Ardent Sensor available in the bot lane is similar for SKT. Once again, the fight for blue buff. MLXG wants it for himself. Who's going to win? Once again, it's Peanut.
Look how bold MLXG is now. I mean, he's invading. His mid laner was walking past his first turret at that point. Faker channeling the recall, and SKT are giving up so much control.
I mean, Faker was greedy. He hadn't backed ever since they were unable to pick up the kill. In lane with less than 1 rotation's worth of mana, less than 1 spell's worth of mana. Great timing, and now that's both buffs contested, even if the smites have been true from Pete.
You keep seeing a still fairly controlled game. Those are the other lanes, though. Top and bot lane just splitting farm back and forth. We had seen switching fights, but none of them turned into kills. Junglers had yet to actually join those fights yet. Cloud Drake available, tends to be a slow one killed. But we're thrilled now for Xiaohu.
Level 11 hit on Let Me. Right now, Equalizer not up, but soon will be. And also, the Abyssal Mask is so clean here, as it will also buff up the damage from Let Me. BF Sword towards an Infinity Edge. 2 items on Uzi. I can tell you one thing, RNG will be looking for any fight they can get, because it's so hard for SKT to win one.
Well, SKT right now, everybody piling up through the river to try and support this mid lane push. That now MLFC finds himself sandwiched in between 2 opposing members and should be able to slide his way out. But you bring up this point, right? There's not much time left before Bang is able to convert all these pieces into the Rage Blade.
Yeah.
And we bring it back to SK Telecom's view of this match. So much of their faith has been put in the bottom lane. Bang and Wolf has been up and down this tournament. They have not always been deserving of that faith. Yet this game, in the elimination game, the Kog'Maw Lulu will be coming online soon.
300 gold is the clip he needs until he can afford the blade. So the Rage Blade combined. Here comes the gank to the bot side. The join to be here. Nope, he's going to get away from that one. The TP canceled as well. Let Me saved his. Faker on a cancel, losing a bit of that cooldown. Realm Warp, of course, the same kind of situation. And back they go to their respective lanes.
Realm Warp abandoned, didn't need to take it through, realized the gank wasn't going to come off, and they got the summon and spell trade. With the teleport going down, so advantage there for the side of RNG. MXG has spent the best part of the last 3 minutes in this brush.
Not quite the knock up there. Faker walking away, and yeah, the shield's simply too good. He's got that magic resist stack, and Cinderhulk gonna rise, not gonna really get through that. The pressure on the bot side, 3 versus 2. How much does Uzi have to be afraid of this? Hit another heal. It's been a bit more. Heals back up with the auto attack. Keep the turret alive a little bit longer, but it is slowly getting whittled down. Bang now actually does have Rage Blade money. At a certain point, he just wants to recall for the power spike itself.
Want a lot of people to realize, in a lot of these games we've seen with the Kog'Maw bot lane or the just one of the Rage Blade carries bot lane have involved a tank top who will teleport behind as Galio comes in and force a faster turret from going down, a first blood turret in the bot lane. Because SKT have not played top lane tanks outside of Maokai in game 1 of the entire Worlds, they don't have a setup for this. Huni has been focused on lane regardless of pick this entire series, and that's why these first blood turrets are so late. It's 18 minutes in, and the Relic Shield Twitch is pretty comfortable bot lane.
A couple of nice skill shots there, but you're seeing the fruit start to bear. You're seeing Huni get the push going, and might just be it. Yes, the team is coming across. Huni gonna walk away. Realm Warp gets Xiaohu behind, and suddenly Huni in a 1v4. Landing's in a Rune Press, into silence, into the root. There's no way out just yet. The attack's still coming through. Huni has the flash, won't use it. Uzi finds kill number 2 of the game.
RNG call for the lane swap to move Uzi and Ming up to the top side. But again, Xiaohu has been so big for this team, especially in the early game.
And the game is never being fought in the pre-match game plan for SKT. They were ready to make that turret dive, ice down the first turret blood, and get more. RNG read that, go topside, gets the Rift Herald on the back of it as well. They gain tempo, even though they're lane swapping first. Really impressive stuff from RNG, and Huni, he didn't read the play.
One of the plays that you can get a Rumble is prevent that 2-for-2 trade. He completely stymies the bot lane push continuing. That tier 2 turret's going to be safe. It will be a turret trade. First one did go to SKT, meaning that gold lead, the extra 350 for that, of course, is theirs. Countered by the kill they got, of course, on a Huni, and we stay in a 1,000 gold difference game. This Kog'Maw has not been stopped. He has highest farm on the team, and he's going for turret number 2 now.
But meanwhile, RNG have the Rift Herald in their top side push. It looks like they're not willing to use it though, and SK Telecom will come out with a 2-for-1 turret trade there, in addition to getting the first turret bonus.
Makes you wonder if the Baron's spawning in 30 seconds and creating something like they did in game 3. The next level Rift Herald play is something they're considering.
Definitely a possibility, especially since it's so early in the game that previous Baron vision has not been placed on this side of the map. You know, RNG are the ones with supreme vision control in this blue quadrant, and SKT are starting up the Cloud Drake.
Doing the last they can at the bottom of the map before that Baron spawns. And here we go, a knock at the one and Huni. He's still got the flash, but he's silenced. Inside the pit, finally jumps out, and Faker rejoins the play. As the Cloud Drake falls, it's Faker's turn to run away, but he's not taking much meaningful damage. Jumps into a wall and walks away, and his magic damage shield blocking most of it anyway. Stays just fine on this. No Infinity Edge for Uzi means he's not the scary team fighter yet. He's got the gold to go still until he gets to that point. Tied game in gold now because of that bot lane tier 2 falling. Xiaohu wants to rejoin the mid lane.
Rumble ultimate on cooldown for this wave, so he can't clear this one out, but it's coming up soon. And speaking of AD carries for fear, Bang goes very deep.
The power spike is in. Rage Blade plus Arc Sensor and Lulu giving him the buffs. He can single-handedly push champions away. That is what Juggernaut is about. The name of that famed Kog'Maw Lulu combo. You can be the frontliner, push the team away. They knew Faker could protect him.
Certainly worked out in that particular area, so you wonder again why the Rift Herald wasn't used to cement SKT needing to be in full defensive formation around the inner bot lane turret. We will find out in the next minute or so as the duration starts to tick down. MLXG was able, and RNG together were able to monopolize vision around the blue side. The Baron threat is there, but they have to actually find a way to get the lanes back in position to actually make that a possibility.
Kobe, how much did it hurt you to see MLXG fully release the red buff down to 1 HP and then be like, my AD carry's not coming, and have to walk away and give it out?
Time
Painful.
wasted for a jungler is definitely one of the most painful things to observe, but it's definitely worth it for RNG. Uzi does have his Infinity Edge.
Yeah.
You know, the basic crit multipliers are there for him, and a red buff to boot. There's so much riding on this. Will the Jarvan and Rumble dive be enough to kind of mitigate the Kog'Maw damage by means of making him move during the W?
I think getting a summoner out of Bang would start to answer that question.
Dive. All right, good buffs out of Lulu, keeping him safe. I like how Wolf is out of range and out of sight for a lot of that. Nice attempt, though.
Yeah, summoners down on Bang, and I think Teamfight victory you ink in for the side of RNG with Infinity Edge and Hurricane already complete, but pressuring out those summoners is difficult to do. RNG's playstyle, especially with Twitch, has been pushing out a minion wave with Uzi and then having him back away and threaten that he's roaming around the map. They're not usually consistently trying to take down the early turrets. That means that the game can extend through this sort of move.
Itemization always is so important as well with compositions like SKT are running. If so much faith has been put in Bang, every purchase is incredibly important. And we mentioned the double AP solo laners and the power that they can bring to these mid-game fights. So Bang has actually gone for that second item Wit's End, which to me always shouts the defensive proponent part of that item, right? The defensive purposes there are for stacking up that magic resist so that he doesn't have to worry as much about the Rumble ultimate damage, about that Rise damage. However, it means that, you know, it is going to be up to him to walk away from the Uzi engages that we just saw before.
It does delay the Hurricane, which is usually that big 2-item spike, and maybe important is
They're going to find out who needed red buff. Slow's going to make it nice. His flash already down from before his hop, you imagine, was, but okay, at least it's still Summoner's Burn. Nice play by RNG.
But given that the Hurricane's mostly about taking down tanks, not as high value, he'll get it eventually. But I think going for the extra magic resistance is probably smartest. Here we
The
go.
flash forward, they catch them both in. Flash for 2. That's a good trade, and RNG get mid lane.
A great trade right there as MLXG goes in with the Flash ultimate. And now everybody's very well aware this Kog'Maw and Lulu combo will be sitting ducks.
And guess what RNG take from that? We have about 4 minutes to actually start Baron, turn, and Equalizer and the Jarvan Cataclysm will do the rest of the work. This is definitely the alarm sounding for SKT. No summoners on Bang. They need to find a way to keep wrestling for Baron control, because that's what RNG want right now.
I do want to correct myself. It was also a Ming flash. They tried to go for Cataclysm Silence to prevent the way out entirely. We saw that sort of similarly out of Cloud. Now with a Singe pick, the grounding can be similar, but the Soraka Silence, of course, also turns off flashes. Either way, it was still 2 for 3 summoners as Wolf burned his heal for movement speed. But as you're mentioning, again, no way out of Cataclysm now for Bang. Once that ability comes back from cooldown, MLXG can guarantee the trap on the SKT AD carry.
The groundwork has been laid for this next team fight. This could be so critical as we see all of these control wards from RNG kind of up and down the river. But SK Telecom have been playing very defensively, not really presenting that opportunity. They know that Uzi's lurking around here as the camouflage twitch, just waiting to open up.
Pushing out 1 minion away, backing away. Teleport
Oh,
very
they're going
aggressively.
Now jumping in, looking for the slow TP coming around the wings as well. This could be the fight. And let's be back on the other side. He's going to find a face and a faker. Head points getting dropped lower, lower time to back in, but Bang's W on cooldown means he can't get the auto attacks. Peanut now rejoining. Could go for the cast, is going to knock him right back in. MLXG gets over the wall, though, and Wish keeps him safe, and he is going to get away. Bang goes for the snipe, not going to land it. A juke out of Jarvan.
Wish is such a huge cooldown for this team, though, that SK Telecom are starting up the Baron.
Deathly injured Jarvan makes it hard to steal away. Uzi does have the ulti though. In comes the team with a flash to get away. They're so afraid of what Hootie can do to them. With the Mega Gnar, Uzi on the wings, he buys some space, but he gets shot down. The Cosmo damage is there, and the chase back in. Bang will not be felled. He will find more targets than Xiaohu to lose his life as well. Another one in for Hootie. That's 4 for nothing, SKT.
Kiteback was so big for SKT. Taking down Uzi with the Winds of War was the big factor that couldn't get the huge ult. The equalizer wasn't enough. The spray and pray not enough, and now they want Baron.
SK Telecom put their faith in Bang, and he stands tall with all of their defenses. Now the Baron will be easily claimed, and SKT once again will pressure.
No one in range to steal a clean smite out of Peanut. And SKT do not back down with their backs against the wall. They do not exit from Worlds early. Looking to make this 2-2 in this series.
So watch this. Faker has only one thing in mind. He wants to peel off and flash onto the enemies. RNG respect a flash taunt. He gets nothing from it. You think, okay, is this the moment? But SKT Bang in the front line, able to just chase down, and they kill Uzi early.
And we get to see displayed right in this critical team fight what we talked about in Champion Select about the power of Lulu Kog'Maw. Uzi flashed away early in that fight, yet a Lulu speed up onto Bang allows him to close that distance without any summoner spell of his own. He just walks up with the red buff and he finds the priority kill.
And normally you can respect Uzi's mechanics in a team fight, moving between auto attacks. At a certain point, he only ran in a straight line against Storm Raiders Kog'Maw. You do not build distance in any way against Bang's champion, and he's took basically free-firing auto attacks, did not answer back. With how low Bang got in that fight, if Uzi had autoed, it would have at least been a trade kill. Now we are in the situation of SKT in control, 3,500. Let me, unfortunately, the man on your screen has been unable to get much done this game. No participation in anything, only a death in the prior team fight. But Void Staff in, maybe he can find something. Uzi, the primary carries here, but so far it's been Bang doing more of it.
Because we've seen MLXG play through mid lane, he hasn't been going top lane. We've seen Equalizer use basically off cooldown for wave clear to extend the laning phase against the Gnar. Because he hasn't often been in position for an Equalizer outside of the one that couldn't get the team fight won about 3 minutes ago. So let me, on a different type of champion, hasn't really got the help from his team. That's why the game's kind of happened around the Rumble.
Go for the silence, no route to be had, so Baker getting away with this one. The siege can continue, but they've got to respect what the engage could be. Bang gonna walk up, only a single auto at a time. Respectful with his flash still down of what could be happening. Even still, mid-turret falls 5-2 in turrets.
You can see how helpless RNG are at this point in the game. With Baron buff given over to this such substantial Kog'Maw composition here, the front line beefy, and the back line fed.
It's pretty non-interactive, Kobe. Gnar is pushing. There's only been 6 kills in 28 minutes. But with the Baron buff, they're going to start threatening here, SKT.
Top of the rise, the re-engage to the backside. Do they have the explosive damage they need? The re-engage, but look at the AoE! Shredding everybody! And now Baker forced to run with the team suddenly in front of him. He's got nowhere to go! They've surrounded him, and Baker, without a flash, without a prayer, double kill for Uzi!
When they needed the most, the spiciest of hot pots, laid down there with the Rumble ultimate over all members of SKT. That took out almost half the team.
That was the clutch play that RNG have been reaching for. It buys them huge control of the map. Hootie is still alive, so they cannot push through mid lane and take any objectives there. But they were about to lose their inhibitor against the Baroned up SKT, who had to invest almost nothing since the previous fight win. Watch for the layering here. Bang starts this fight with his flash.
MLXG flashes in for the Cataclysm on Kog'Maw. Then he knocks him up long enough for the silence to come down, and Rumble Ultimate destroys all of the remaining members.
He dies with flash available because, like you say, silenced into the root effect from silence, not able to get out. Bang was the cornerstone of the team. He won in the previous fight, but him dying there meant that SKT fell apart like a pack of cards.
And still a lot to work back from, though. I think the compositions are closely matched, and the gold still 2,500 up for SKT. There's normally the Korean squad who's so good in late game situations and coming back from deficits. RNG still has to make up the issues. You're seeing finally damage come out from Let Me, but double that out of the Twitch. Uzi was on 2.5 items already, and now he's got a Shiv done, so it only gets higher from there.
I mean, without Nada, there was never going to be real threat onto Uzi after the team started kiting backwards, and Bang fell down. So, but here on the screen, the teamfight KDAs, it's been close, but RNG have been the team-fighting gods of World 2017.
Good sound gets rid of what could have been a body slam for a couple of seconds. Teamfight KDA battles, which has at least 4 players from each team. Both these squads have been very good in those large situations. RNG had even better stats coming into this match, but SKT have tested them quite a bit.
And while it is especially the carry members, the backline, that always come out with the best KDAs. You know, Xiaohe and Uzi coming into this had the top 2 of the entire tournament. The frontline setup is so important. And how MLXG was able to buy that time on getting Bang caught long enough. Well, here we go.
They've got himself a little bit explosive cast buys a few more seconds, and now they can find themselves Soraka wish to buy a little bit more. They're going to jump away. Redemption gets some more health as well. That is several ultis down, but not Uzi's. Twitch still has it.
Exactly. And the flash from Uzi is blown, while Bang now on Kog'Maw has his. Such a huge turning point in these team fights are whether the AD carry will live through the initial engagement.
I wonder if Uzi just used ultimate to try to clear this wave. No equalizer available.
Gotta respect the flash out of all the tanks, though. Huni can do it, so can Faker. Gotta respect it. He's not gonna go in just yet. Looking for backline access now. A slow. No, yet the spray and pray, and will be a disengage so far. SKT, the re-engage, but he's tanky. It's not an easy kill to go for. The flash forward. Bang wants to do it. He channels it under Wound, and he gets the kill. Uzi's dead. And without a carry, this could be the game just now. The flash forward. They found the second, a double for the Kog'Maw.
We see it once again. You can't get away from that Kog'Maw. Bang flashes forward, and now SK Telecom inside the base, looking to push this one to a game 5.
And Faker recalls to heal up and TP back here for the next wave. It's all about wave clear then for RNG in the 3v5, but here comes the siege, looking for the turrets, looking to bring it to game number 5. And 5 men strong, they look. There's the taunt, they're going for the kill first in a Xiao, who Huni joins in as well, and he does not have a way out. Bang gets his 3rd in a row. Now the turret left to fall. Faker gets number 4, and there is no stopping them. Soraka is not going to heal a building. The stone will crumble. RNG will drop in game 4 as they continue to find a couple more kills for good measure.
No minion wave here, so it's buying a little bit of time. Ming will die as well. This should be the win for SKT. No SKT fan would have said build around Bang, but that's exactly what they did.
And the Uzi 1v5's knocking him out of the Nexus. Falls SKT! Bring us to game 5!
Step number 1 for SKT complete. They are now 8-0 in elimination matches.
Head in hands, last game. Much more calm is Bang. Like I said, no SKT fan after this World and his struggles would have predicted that building around Bang of all things, taking the Galio that they've gotten 4 games, but turning it into much more of a defensive peel Galio rather than an early game facilitator Galio, actually worked a treat. It was LPL-esque and how they were able to do this. From Rift Rivals, when I was prepping for it, every game, first pick Kog'Maw, get the Galio in there, peel back. It's been the tournament meta as well, but SKT, take a nod from that, and now the Silver Scrape starts again, and it's a game 5.
I gotta say, both side lanes out of SKT I thought performed admirably well. The bot lane won heads up. They got first turret gold for that as well. Huni, outside of being caught the one time in a clever rotation, had priority lots of the time as well, was forcing equalizers to wave clear, but was continually a threat in fights, a big damage dealer, and a great split push.
And a threat in fights is not what he picked for before. Nar straddles the line, lane dominant, but also had the team fight. So it was quintessentially what we saw from Huni earlier, just a little bit different because he actually could team fight.
So a decider on our hands. Game 5 coming up shortly, but for now, let's hear from our analysts about how SKT pulled this series-tying game.
Thank you very much, Freak. I wouldn't have it any other way. We are going to game 5. SK Telecom with the equalizer once again. So tit for tat for both of these teams. Peanut comes in, and they come away with the victory.
And the amount of pressure there for Peanut is enormous, but it's that opportunity to actually come in, as a big-time player, to make a name for yourself, to step up to the plate and be able to perform on this level. And Peanut was under a tremendous amount of pressure in the early stages from MLXG and from RNG in general.
Yeah, and RNG did what I wanted out of the draft. They didn't ban all of the junglers. They still got a strong jungle for MLXG, and he actually had a lot of control in the early game. This match was insanely tense. And at the end of the day, SKT was clutch once again when it mattered, because all RNG would have needed was one big mid-game team fight around Baron. Turns out that's all SKT needed as well, and they were the ones who ended up getting it.
All right, well, let's take a look at that big-game team fight, because that's all they needed. Our Acer replay here that gave us a Game 5. SKT 4-for-0 and a Baron.
And all eyes need to be on Uzi, because it's that flash right there. He's got nowhere to go right now. He's put himself into a hole, and his team is trying to dig him out of it. They then rise and put themselves in a horrendous position. SKT take the team fight and then the Baron.
And really the mistake is just the initial positioning, because once you're positioning that far forward, he cannot retreat up because SKT is coming from above, from the Baron pit down towards him, and getting separated like that when you are the focal point of your team, you need to be the one putting out the damage, really did cost them. And I think that Bang and Wolf, for once, did rise to the occasion. They were playing excellently.
And the thing that I think preempted that fight was the fact that MLXG had previously burned a flash on an over-eager gank mid, didn't have flash, got really low in the retreat, and then didn't stick with Soraka to get healed up. But the fact that that's all it took for SKT to then be able to force around that Baron and immediately know that was the right call was very impressive by SKT.
And I want to talk about this word of mentality, and you brought it up, Azale, and pressure. Peanut was under so much pressure coming into an elimination match. SKT are so clutch. We saw Uzi's face after that game. He's just come off of a reverse sweep back in the LPL finals. He had a great world, and now he's starting to find adversity. And Uzi has cracked every single time he comes under that type of pressure.
Yeah, we'll get to Game 5 in just a moment. That dip in the gold graph there, though, Jack, that's what you're talking about, because it was just after that Baron that RNG executes properly on a team fight to mount a base defense, and that's where you see, hey, if that had happened 3 minutes earlier, before the Baron goes down, the Baron's theirs, and they have total control of the game.
Yeah, the Jarvan Soraka Cataclysm into Silence synergy with the Twitch Ultimate and Rumble ult is awesome when they can pull that off, but what ended up, I think, catching them off guard time and time again was the Storm Raiders Kog'Maw. So many Kog'Maws we see have been going Warlords for the laning phase, and it even seemed a little odd in this game when you're like, man, SKT is really not pressuring around that bottom lane, and they're not breaking the turret, but they were getting what they needed, and both of Uzi's critical deaths were because Bang proc Storm Raiders and was able to run him down.
All right, you got something to say here to finish out this game?
I mean, the most interesting thing to me about this is that SKT played RNG style, right? When we talk about RNG throughout this tournament, it's been taking the scaling comp, taking these compositions and giving up the minimum, never giving up too much to crack, and then having this one big fight that wins the game. And SKT did that to the letter.
Now, with our last few remaining minutes, I want to turn our attention to Game 5, because once again, SKT, now 8-0 on elimination games. I'll throw this other fun stat at you. They are 4-0 in Game 5s at Worlds, of course. So we've pushed ourselves to Game 5 here. They're trying to do it once again, but RNG's on the verge of history if they can take down SKT and push themselves to the finals in Beijing.
I mean, there was a reason why I predicted RNG 3-1. It's because if it went to Game 5, I had no confidence that Uzi would be able to get over his own hurdles. How many times do you put yourself in your situation before you start to believe that you really are cursed, that you can't go the distance? And like we said at the very beginning of the day, Uzi has finished second 10 times. So unfortunately, I think mentality will crack.
Yeah, RNG lost Game 5 of the LPL final as well, which is why they're not the #1 seed out of the LPL. And that daunting number of 8-0 in elimination games is what SKT's got working for them. And it's once again why, like, 3-1 RNG is wrong, clearly, because it's 2-2. So I think SKT is the big favorite in Game 5 based on the history and the way these teams' trend this series go on.
The one thing going for Uzi, though, you got to get to the finals to get second place. You got to lose there.
I love it. All right,
So?
there's the vote for Uzi
SKT
now.
for
You
sure.
guys have all flip-flopped for each other.
No.
But okay, ignoring mentality, because we've hit this and we've hammered it home, and we know that it's a huge part of this Game 5. Right. what other kinds of adjustments do we want to see here? Because you talk about the fact that SKT kind of adopted the RNG strategy here in Game 4 and beat them with it.
I think it's super interesting, and you can tell the sense of unease in this venue. People are not very confident on RNG. So if RNG wants to find their footing again, I think they go back to something similar to what they did in Game 3.
Okay.
Where they went with the Comfort Maokai pick. They went with the Comfort Vayne pick. They found a way to get the champions they would be most comfortable with, because I feel like that's one of the ways you can isolate the pressure of the matchup. You can stop thinking about all these other things, or if you need to think about that, you're going to be so comfortable on the champion that it might matter less.
Going to throw this in there. The good thing is they're moving back to blue side. As has been mentioned, blue side has won every single game up to this point.
I just want RNG to take away the Galio. Either pick it for yourselves or ban it away. I understand that they probably feel confident enough from Stauhu that he can compete with it, but why? That's like fighting a fight with one hand tied behind your back. Why put yourself in that deficit?
And I mean, to me, at the end of the day, RNG has to dance with the girl that brought them, right? You played these Protect the UZ comps throughout Worlds, draft tanks, draft protection for him, and enable him to actually succeed, right? When you're playing with a Galio on one side and you're playing with a Rumble and a Rise on the other, it's so much easier for Bang to succeed in this last game.
But the scary thing about that is that this team domestically found its success and found its pathway to Worlds by playing through Stauhu. And yes, they have been playing for Uzi at the World Championship, but he's walked into melee range of Galio in one of these games. He flashed the wrong direction on that big team fight. Like, Uzi is starting to make these mistakes.
I agree, but at the end of the day, they're already playing, Xiaohu on Rise, right? They have him on the carry. It's not working in some of these games.
I also feel like Jace, Xayah, and Gragas were RNG's last bans when they're on red side. Just drop the Gragas ban. You're going to be picking a power jungler most likely, and then you don't give Galio away on the rebound. I think that's a quick, different take that RNG can have to mix it up in Game 5. If Faker plays Galio 5 games in a row, that's going to be something that no one predicted.
You got to make the man play something else, right?
Please.
All right, well, the series is tied, and a spot at the Bird's Nest is on the line. See if RNG or SKT are going to the finals when we return.
붙어. 이거 나이스 포그모.
오케이.
끝났어. 게임 끝났어.
Re-engage, but look at the AoE! Running everybody! And now Faker forced one to the team. Suddenly in front of him, he's got nowhere to go! And without a carry, this could be the game just now. The flash forward, they found the second, a double for the Cogmaw. SKT, bring us to Game 5! Welcome back to the final game in this series between Royal Never Give Up and SK Telecom T1. Once again, you see SKT, their coach, and a few of their star players on your screen. And you see the crowd ever in the favor of the Chinese squad. Royal Never Give Up. A few do have SKT signs as well, of course. A very popular team in their own right, but now it's the decider. SKT never lose these when it really counts, the World Championship. RNG get to choose blue side here as is their right, and we'll see what happens in the 5th game.
Feels like a final. Feels like we're at the grand final because it's all about being clutch. Right now, which team can come up in the clutch? That has been the one little criticism of Uzi's entire career. His play, his highlights, unmatchable. But Game 5 is where this man has largely had a monopoly on those results. One Chinese team, EDG, years ago at MSI, were able to answer SKT in a best-of-5 in the 5th game on the world stage. But other than that, it's only been wins for the side of SKT.
Yeah, one little criticism that has plagued Uzi his entire career. It's the difference between him having a cupboard full of silver medals or any gold. Now he wants another chance at gold, and to do that, he's gonna have to get past Faker himself.
And it's not just Faker anymore who's the prime suspect here of who do you ban out, who do you care about, who are you afraid of on SKT. Bang had a killer performance, and literally that on that Kog'Maw in the previous game, 825 damage per minute. He had like a 300 or so damage per minute difference. He almost doubled what came out of his opposing member. You know, 4/9 of all the kills was absolutely massive in that 4th game.
I mean, turn back the clock in 2015, there was no one safer than Bang for Faker to jump onto Lulu duty and for them to build comps around. He has been suspect at best at Worlds 2017. So in an elimination match, for him to step up means there is that supporting crew for Faker's ever-capable shoulders.
We have to talk about poise for these guys. I mean, everyone always has the spotlight on Faker, but Bang and Wolf, almost as much tenure as he on that team. That's why they got to be in the intro video right beside him, flanking Faker. They are also champions.
There's so many legends on this arena in this game. Of course, Uzi and Faker, two of the biggest ones. It was fun seeing the shot of the stage. There's a lot of large, pictures and ornamentation of some of the best players to play in Worlds throughout the years. We saw Peanut front and center at the very beginning, and it hovered over, and you saw Huni, and you see Uzi on the left-hand side right there. These players still on your screen right here on stage, battling to be the first team into the World Championship final this year. SKT don't miss finals, and they don't lose them when they get there. Royal seemingly collecting silvers constantly, at least Uzi himself, but has to win to get there at least.
Now, Royal fans will be emboldened by the fact that in Game 5, this entire series has gone blue side. They are blue side for the deciding Game 5. They can ban Jace for a 5th time, and now it's on SKT. You can see Faker trying to get as much focus as possible. Right now, the spotlight's on the coaches, though, as picks and bans get started.
Again, the Galio, Sejuani, Jarvan, all up in the air, circling around, waiting to be traded here.
One final ban in the first phase for Royal Never Give Up, and I wonder, are we going to see something
Tristana?
extra new? Or do they go back to the old style, but with the extra information of what their opponents have played so far this series?
Definitely using all of the clock. Draft could hinge on the ban here. Gragas once again banned on blue side.
Hoping
Both the victories for SKT was with the Gragas, Peanut and Blank picking up 1 each. So the jungle pool being pinched again.
So the question is, do you ban away the Jarvan or Sejuani and make that a one for something else trade with the Galio on one side, the uncontested Sedge on the other, or something similar?
If you ban Tristana, you theoretically get Galio and X, or you're able to look for the jungle matchup, the support matchup. So far, RNG have looked past the Galio wherever possible. The Jarvan they took previously is available.
Yeah, are they forcing a first pick jungle on the Jarvan? No, it goes to the Tristana, so Jarvan Galio, is that the famous combo that SKT get in the decider?
Jarvan Galio available. Xayah has been overlooked the entire time, and Rakan banned out earlier. I think SKT stick with the Galio. You can hear the crowd. They were laughing about this pick in Game 4. No longer laughing. A bit bemused, though, in Game 5. To see it a 5th time in Faker's hands.
It would be unreal to have Faker play 5 Galio games in a row if SK Telecom failed.
I'm going to go further. It'd be unreal not to see Jarvan Kog'Maw locked in here. Try to turn the old Chinese technology against them. It's the most obvious draft of all time.
They can, of course, play it later on with the Trish picked up. There's no rush there, so quickly it's a new look once again. Seeing the same lane matchup 5 times. Xiaohu now brings in the Corki, and the rush to get Let Me a Protector in the Shen.
And you hear the cheers go up from the Chinese crowd for Xiaohu's Corki. He can carry so well in the late game. It's not just about Uzi, and we mentioned the spread of damage over this series. Yes, the early game might not be as much pressure, but RNG will definitely be packing it later.
So you don't take Kog'Maw here. If you take Lulu, you kind of prompt a Kog'Maw ban. It's an obvious ban to take away. They've prioritized the Lulu. They could not get both and pair them with the Galio and Jarvan. So now, still the second phase, super intriguing.
But if you have to start banning away carries from Bang, you don't get to pinch Huni's champion pool anymore. The Gnar, the Trundle, Cho'Gath, things that have been attacked quite a bit in the draft. He can get one of those big carries, and you're seeing SKT worried about aggro lanes, ban Leona themselves.
Wonder what this means for the jungle pool for MLXG, because Lee Sin has been played once by him at Worlds. Massive pick for the side of RNG, and the jungle pool certainly has started dwindling. Sejuani banned a lot earlier. The Kog'Maw, like we expected, you see Lulu picked. Kog'Maw is almost certain to be banned with no Rumble to try and take him down in team fights.
Yeah, I doubt we'll be seeing a Nocturne again.
Nope.
You're talking about MLXG's jungle champion pool. Yeah, the Lee Sin or Rek'Sai or something are a bit more likely there. Oh, okay, I'm 100% sure we won't
Wow,
see the Nocturne again.
Nocturne actually comes through as the ban. That is a big shock to me, but it happened all the same. So RNG, what is the final ban? What are they most afraid of Twitch? It's removing hyper carries from Bang, saying, I dare you to find something that you can carry with.
And now this is so interesting, because a lot of the conventional AD carries are gone. You could go lower damage to an Ashe, for example, if you wanted. Looks like they're going to pick their AD carry last, suggesting perhaps they will go very risky with their AD carry choice. For a blind pick top lane, a Trundle was the pick for them in recent weeks, but the Gnar lane pressure worked for them largely in Game 4.
Yeah, and he knows he's going into the Shen, so he knows that it won't be that difficult. You won't get that pressure from something like a Camille, from something like the Rumble lane.
We'll see what it comes through. Final rotations now for World Never Give Up. Who's the last round of the draft? They need a jungler. They need a support. Taric worked for them before. They locked it in again. That was a win for them. That was the Vayne game. It's Tristana this time around. SKT, last pick their bot lane. Fatula says it's going to be Xayah.
Let's discuss, though, that RNG don't have Force on their lineup. This is a lot harder Taric comp to pull off. The timing of the Cosmic Radiance with no engagement.
Lee Sin!
I mentioned the Lee Sin. It seemed likely when they held on to it, but a risky choice by RNG.
Incredibly risky. We mentioned how difficult it is to play the team fights with the Taric. You're using it effectively, and as Papa said, not a lot of control here. Crowd control specifically from the RNG lineup.
Whenever the Taric comp can choose when the fight happens, they choose their engage, they get the first target low, they choose the exact timing. A proactive Cosmic Radiance is one of the scariest abilities in the game, but they are very low on those proactive plays, and reactively, we've seen so many teams trip up with the Taric.
I will say that there are a lot of tools around MLXG's Lee Sin to really enable this pick, even more so than usual though. A Shen Stain United could be on top of him when he goes in for an insect play to force that fight, and he can reposition so quickly that the Taric stun can be extended. It does take a very high level of execution to actually pull that off, but if done so correctly, would be spectacular.
Here we are into the decider. Bang on the Caitlyn. A little bit of a new look for SK Telecom T1. I don't think a lot of teams saw this champion coming into Worlds, but the Chinese teams popularized it and won with it, and fairly many other squads decided, you know what, you guys are right, this is a smart adaptation. SKT bringing, once again, a new look into this draft. And RNG once again unleashed another champion that people weren't expecting to see much of, but push comes to shove. Backs against the wall now, match point for either side, do or die. All the references you want to make, it is this, the final competition for both these teams. One is going home, and one will move on to the finals. Here's game 5.
Uzi once again in this seat. Game number 5 on an elimination series. How will he perform under the pressure with the curse living over his head versus some of the most prolific and the most clutch players in all of League of Legends history on SK Telecom?
And it's so surreal because you hear the calls of the crowd. They are desperate to see a Chinese team in the final, for Uzi to actually get that big trophy. You hear the crowd cheer. Remember, it's still another best of 5 after this. Being clutch here is so important for Uzi, but there will be an even further requirement for him in a week's time at the Bird's Nest in Beijing. So there's still so much to be done, and yet it feels like right now we have a final of its own.
It's because right now is do or die, as Freak so eloquently puts.
All the references, there's plenty of synonyms there, and no one's mind is anywhere but in this game right now. Samsung, WE, not names in their minds. It's all about Bang, Wolf, Faker, Peanut, Huni, Let Me, MLXG, Xiaohu, Uzi, and Ming. These 10 players, the coaches can no longer talk to them. The drafts no longer matter. Execution is all you need. And as minions spawn, RNG gonna go for an invade, try to punish Huni's potential leash. And go back to their side afterwards. It will be a late start though for MLXG. He'll be a few seconds off.
As you see, SKT stealing away the Raptors here, getting a bit of experience onto Bang. In particular, only gets 1 because of the patience range there, and he has to go to lane to get the melee minions. RNG actually went straight to lane, so it might be a level 2 advantage here in the bot lane.
Assuredly. I mean, RNG get to shove this early wave in, and they get complete control down here. Shouldn't be difficult for Bang and Wolf to reset off of that tower bounce, though. With the Lulu and Caitlyn, they have very strong advantages here. Now, you talked about the bands of supports, you know, the Leona specifically in Champion Select here, but Tarek and Tristana can also apply a tremendous amount of kill pressure. Ming, though, taking a lot of damage on the outside.
Not a lot of ways out, he flashed, but it's gonna be Peanut in range! He's gonna get in there with the Ignite, the damage comes through, first blood for Bang!
We said one of the only things that they would fear would be Rock's Peanut. Peanut comes down from the red buff to the bottom lane to secure first blood for SKT.
Talked about taking away strategies as well. That's MLXG-esque. 1 buff into walking all the way down. That is not what you expect conventionally from a Korean jungler min-maxing. This is all about getting in the head of RNG. Has to make the entire trip, walks all the way down. They see RNG pushed up, and Peanut smells his moment.
So many things collaborate here to make this possible. SKT, they seemingly for free give away this minion wave push level 1 by going to the Raptors. Yet, all the time, coordinated with Peanut on this Jarvan, a red buff start immediately to the bottom lane to take advantage of an over-pushed lane. And it finds success here in Game 5, the critical moment.
One of the few moments maybe there would have been a smiling Peanut, as he's been grimacing almost the entire summer season into Worlds. That was vintage him. Didn't take an Elise pick, didn't take the Nidalee, was banned away in the previous game. But a confidence booster is so important for the jungler of SKT.
The first recalls come through in the mid lane. Faker, if he wants to, can TV right back in. Just add some ability power for the wave clear. Speed is hard farming. He actually went for his own trust as well, something not too often seen in early clears, but a hard farm out of the Lee Sin so far. Level 3 for him, matched by Peanut though. He's also got himself a gank off, so massive props, of course, to the SKT junglers we were mentioning before. Let Me doing his best to play defense up here. Is currently up in farm. Worth noting, is doing very well for himself, but Shen has been a big champion for him. His ultimates were so good
in that first game.
Huni has had 1% jungle proximity. 1%. No visits at all. And some of the lane phases, most famously Game 1, have not gone his way, but he's got that thankless task. We've talked about it a couple of times. Push in, create pressure, even with 2 losing lanes at times, especially during Worlds, and don't die. And there's always going to be that pendulum swing, and he's largely done his job pretty respectably in this series.
Meanwhile, opposing him, Letme has diligently done his job on the tanks.
Sure.
Shen, Maokai, and RNG have been able to really effectively actually use that Shen previously. Remember back to earlier in this series, the bottom lane focus where MLSG did go top. You know, he was able to lend some support to Letme and get Shen to that level 6 where they could take advantage. But right now, it might be him that would be in need of some support. Fancy camera work there, though, and he's no longer around the mid lane. Currently down bottom, looking for a play off the control ward.
Just feels like MLXG needs to make action happen wherever he goes. Late rotation jungler, the playmaker that he is famous on. If everything's left equal, I mean, pushing advantage for SKT top and bot lane, although it's pretty even right now as RNG have pushed up, and Galio situationally can clear faster than the Corki. So my eyes are really trained on what MLXG can do as well. That's his first aggressive move.
Yeah, lands a slow couple autos, but Galio already on the way down. Faker not far, doesn't have ulti, but still. Nice strat at Huni, lands the hyper damage, and that will be a control ward cleared away. So now suddenly it's RNG losing vision on this side of the map.
It's going to be so much of balance here in the early game about the globals of all these solo laners. As we approach the level 6s for Faker, for Letme, these cooldowns are tremendously long in the early game, and those are what you base your entire team strategy for that early game around. Jungle paths are determined by these. You know, trades in the top lane like we just saw could very well mean Letme joining on this bottom side gank, or it fails.
We didn't even mention it. Ming has Ignite, so showing a bit of transparency around playing around bot side. That's why you see MLXG once again returning here for the lane game, but SKT pulling back, very respectful.
Yeah, no reason to go run headlong into them in front of a minion wave, so gonna play at range. I do want to point out though, despite the Caitlyn pick, and so many times in Worlds we see it be a super lane dominant pick, you knock the turret down, there's nary a lick of damage on the RNG bot lane turret right now. Uzi and Ming, maybe with the Ignite threat, who knows, have been able to keep the lane at equilibrium the whole time.
So now I would definitely say that the respect is being paid to that Shen, Stand United post level 6. But you're right, the kill pressure early on of an Ignite Taric Tristana lane that we talked about, definitely keeping them honest. And pressure actually is a very ambiguous term that we use often as casters in League of Legends, but we could simplistically describe a couple of versions here. So one version of pressure does come from kill pressure, and that is from assassins or from skill combinations like we just mentioned, where you can all in and kill the opposing champion. The other form of pressure that we talk about very often is the ability of a champion to clear out the minions in a much quicker fashion, which basically, again, gives that homework to the enemy, as you can see there, to have to clear out before going for one of those rounds.
That's why Galio kind of has the best of both worlds, because he instantly clears a minion wave, leaves, and he even has a global to get somewhere faster than you can, so you're always under intense map pressure. Do you call missing every time he wave clears? He's got the wave clear from level 1. So I take your point, Kobe. It is a very nuanced point. We talk about even the map pressure, the ability to push being enough to create pressure on the enemy jungler because the laners can leave first. Seeing both laners on our screen, leaving for now, trying to provide coverage. MLXG one camp away from 6.
Peanut, I believe, was seen coming down through the mid lane. Of course, the minion wave wasn't there, so he gets to walk, and now he is seen. He puts the red ward down and says, I'm not going to bother stealing this one. RNG know that information themselves, of course, as well. As the red buff will be grabbed pretty cleanly by MLXG. First level 6 is going to be that RNG jungler. The Peanut you expect not far behind.
And then it comes to weird summoner spells. Like Ignite on Taric is something that may never have been played in the entire summer season. It's not what you'd expect. And Exhaust, certainly. Heal has become common. He has the Wind Speaker, so you would have thought heal. But Ignite basically says, wait, you've got to Lee Sin, and your support with a stun has Ignite. You're expecting bot lane pressure, and that probably means that after clearing a wave, Bang walks backwards because he's like, wait, surely the enemy jungler with this Ignite Taric will play around bot side. If that means the turret lasts 3, 4, 5 minutes longer, just a summoner spell choice is enough to create pressure or implied pressure on the SKT bot lane.
And the first recalls come through, of course, Bang with more money gets to finish an entire Ninja Tabby, but it's actually still up in farm for Uzi, a pretty safe recall. So often you see a Caitlyn get to dictate when that happens, come in with BS Roder's pickaxe, and it's the same attack damage out of the Tristana, and mid to late game, I think there is a massive power spike that comes out of the Trist, much more so than the Caitlyn gets.
I mean, on a simple level, late game, it's one threat, and the one threat is Caitlyn on the side of SKT. A lot of the nerfs towards Caitlyn were about attack speed, base attack speed. Nerfs into meaning attack speed items give her less rewards. So when it comes to late game fights, Xiaohu on his famous Corki that won them a lot of their way towards their eventual second place runners-ups and that won him his MVP is going to be so pivotal because there's a point where SKT may run out of damage.
It's definitely true. You have to take into consideration the theoretical maximum damage output for a backline of Corki Trist, definitely higher. But topside, we actually have some action brewing.
Okay, Let Me can get the taunt. He's not going to go for it. He's running out of health instead. So just MLXG gives him a shield. They called that Jarvan and Galley were on the way. Suddenly this could be a 3 versus 2. And Uni looking to go continually forward, wants to find the CC. Instead, they will find alone time with this turret, though.
Sweeper misses the ward. Safina
Over the play, flash on the lanes. Here's the rest of the knockup. And they're going to have all the CC they need. MLXG going to drop 2-0 SKT.
And Huni, so much pressure on this top side. Now they even get to cut off Let Me from the minion wave, and Faker instantly teleports back to mid.
Such a big play in the blink of an eye. The fact that he's in a ward doesn't matter. They're going to invest a teleport just to keep the turret health up. It's low, but it will not fall now. And Faker loses no minions in there.
People question Huni all year long, ever since he joined this SK Telecom version. He's stuck to his style of high pressure, playing forward on the map, drawing extra resources away. And as you talked about earlier, Papa Smithy, he only got 1% jungle pressure from his own team.
It's doubled now!
I mean, he's kind of had a thankless task in summer. Spring season, he comes in. First game was Maokai. He played a lot of Poppy. He looked great. He fit in. In summer season, halfway through the season, as we look over a bit of a replay here, his only wins were on Cassiopeia top, Lucian top, a bit of AD Cannon. He wasn't playing the meta champion. He can play the Na'Vi. He showed it in his victory over Khan in the LCK final, the only game that SKT won. He does play to the beat of his own drum, and I love that SKT, with no Antara, have to embrace that, and all their strategies around a pressure top laner, something that Huni uniquely provides, and Antara does not.
And one of my favorite stats is the Huni style, of, regardless of champion, is effective. On Cho'Gath, the average pass halfway mark for first 15 minutes, forward percentage, is 30% of the time. They'll be across the halfway point. Huni's Cho'Gath forward percentage is 50%.
And Huni has had to reinvent himself a bit here with Jace banned permanently. He hasn't played the Trundle once. You think about what a Huni champion looks like, you think, what about Cho'Gath, the big blind-picked mid laner of this tournament? It doesn't work for Huni because it doesn't have turret-killing pressure. You need to either gank Huni and allow SKT to make plays on the bot side, or Huni needs to be able to take down turrets while the enemy team reacts.
Looks like the top lane should be falling on this one. No one's quite in range to stop him. Xiaohu was sent to handle the 1v1, but a little bit, not enough time really had, and Huni will get the solo kill on first turret of the game. SKT up 2,000.
Gonna walk over a trap here and reveal himself, so SKT know what's on the way.
Damage onto Wolf, but it doesn't matter. MLXG so far ineffective on this Lee Sin pick. It's been Peanut been able to actually get a gank off on this, and now we got to fight into the mid lane. Let Me puts on the dodge time, and now Xiaohu gonna find himself a duel against Huni, but he's got to be careful. Peanut is around. A lot of burst damage. He's almost gonna take him. One rocket, but the damage reduction of Galio saves Huni's life.
Single-digit HP means that Gnar does not fall down. It was a lane swap by RNG to try to have the Corki answer Gnar. Ranged auto-attacker alike in the top side. Shannon mid lane, that would have been a big punishment way back into the game for RNG. It does not happen.
Faker saves another teammate, applying the damage reduction for the last rocket. Meanwhile, down bottom lane, Ocean Drake taking up.
So a solo Ocean, 14 minutes, not the ideal, but not bad. The fact that RNG's duo was able to heads up 2-on-2 with a bit of intervention, but not a true gank, get the turret kill against the Caitlyn lane. No one gives first turret against the Caitlyn lane. RNG did, so the strengths on different sides. Uzi and Huni, the two major forces.
The turret health was high, but they knew that all the members of SKT were top side. There was no backup for SKT while MLXG was bot side. They couldn't know that he was taking down the Ocean Drake. They had to respect, they backed away. It's nice to pick up the turret, answering turret for RNG.
And you talk about the 2 points of power, Freak. just a little fun fact here. Huni was at 3 HP from that last engagement. So
3 hit points of power.
That point of power, yeah, was 3 HP from falling over.
He attacked 1 extra time with his Cole, got 3 life on hit, lived through Xiaohu.
And while the early game has gone good for SKT, they don't have the inevitability of mid to late game fight Lulu Kog'Maw. It is Caitlyn this time. Caitlyn, after the big debut with WE with the Janna Caitlyn lanes, has not found any real success subsequent to that. Nard is going to go for a DPS build, but there's no guarantee that if this game stays around the 2,000 to 5,000 gold mark in 10, 15 minutes time, SKT can win team fights.
Yeah, you definitely have to run it through the team fight simulator here. Theoretical damage output of a Corki Tristana is amazing. However, there is higher disruption on SK Telecom's side. So if the front line can play well enough to disrupt the auto attacks and the damage output, then it could be similar. Here we go on the bottom side, though. Let me is the target.
Puts in the dodge. He buys a lot of time, but here comes the rest of the squad. Wolf is here. The taunt to buy some time, but Peanut can walk away. SKT, 3 unanswered kills.
That was really strong. Even through the dodge field, able to pick him up. They'll summon the Rift Tower, force RNG to react bot side, and Baker's just leaving open, trying to wave clear around the mid lane.
Baker feels like he's constantly trying to put out fires across the map, but
look at
there's
another one burning on top. Flash kicked him into the wall, and all of the rest of the damage is there. Huni, of course, the standard build doesn't have any resistances yet, and they knew their limits. MLXG hoping to get this first turret, but here comes Faker. They've got to walk away.
No turret taken down. Faker keeps moving around. Second charge on the Rift Herald. Difficult to return to a chunked out bot lane inner turret, so not necessarily going to be a big factor. Very nice execution on the top side. If that was the second kill onto Huni, that 3 HP hadn't have been there the previous time, that would have definitely been a psychological blow to Huni, but giving up his life there and keeping up his summoners is decent.
2,500 still the lead for SKT. He can still feel good about this one. The fact that he got first turret gold means he's still ahead of his opponent in the lane. Uzi hoping to find something to do. Xiaohu forced to run away as well from Faker. And pressure in all these lanes.
Something else that RNG really like to do with Xiaohu on this Corki is have him on the side lane and split pushing. So, we'll get another look at Let Me here on Shen as he gets dove, ending up being a 3 versus 1, but it starts out with just Faker and Peanut doing most of the work. Then Wolf comes in, he adds the wild growth just for good measure.
Huni had half a rage bar, so there was a chance if this wasn't instantly executed that he turns around, but the flash kick takes away any time to react. A single auto attack in the air without a flash may have been enough for the transform. Very nice punishment by RNG.
I think he was actually in the middle, but I started hearing the sound, but as he leaped, the bounced off, he got the rage. You normally transform in a crunch as that goes in, and those few seconds, all they needed.
Exactly. You consider one more auto attack connects because of the time to close from the Lee Sin. The transform probably happens. Maybe there's a trade kill, but good investment of the flash picks up the proactive play for RNG.
And again, the point we were talking about earlier, the difference between what you expect and what you got out of Caitlyn. Absolute value almost the same, but that's not how this game works right now. So Bang working back from a deficit. The real trough comes at 2 items. I think right now should be, of course, not too bad for Caitlyn. But from this point onwards, Uzi gets more and more powerful than Bang.
And I love the fact that Kobe talked about the disruption factor for SKT, because a perfect fight where RNG have the Cosmic Radiance going and then they free hit with it, they will probably win. And I think that will consistently be the trend. But there's so many different ways to force positioning, to bait out something like that big ultimate from Ming, where suddenly it doesn't matter how much damage you have if Let Me and MLXG die and there's no front line for the 280 carries for DPS behind.
The execution here for the next 5 minutes are critical because, as we've seen with the stats for Caitlyn, she does drop off with the attack speed nerfs that you're talking about, Labor Freak. And we've seen so many of the teams stall out with the pushing, but SKT are keeping up the pressure, trying to get that bottom secondary turret.
I think he might have known that MLG had no flash, but still a flash to get away. Didn't want to get knocked up, but a quick dodge out by Let Me, but SKT able to get their 3rd turret now of the game as bot lane 2-2 falls. RNG only just getting top lane outer. Being able to run back, he's got a Lulu near him, put some damage on towards Uzi.
Meanwhile, as we talked about before, the Trinity Force Corki, RNG love to have Xiaohu split pushing, and now once again making quick work of this top turret. Even though they sacrifice on the bottom side, and Let Me on Shen is unable to deal with the multiple members of SKT down there, RNG are trading some gold and trying to fuel their later game carries.
And never lose sight of when the Baron is spawning against a Ardent Sensor Turret, able to really reapply that in an AoE and force down a fast Baron. So even on simple levels, you think conventionally, hey, you're going to get a Mountain Drake, you're jumping around the right side, you have the right side of control by controlling bot side for SKT. The Baron pressure of this Ardent Sensor Turret at 20 minutes is immense.
It truly is, because all of the champions on RNG also very successfully utilize that Ardent Sensor buff. That's one of those times where the Ardent Sensor gold value of this item will actually be like 9,000 gold.
Yeah. This is one of the very best ones for it. I'm actually glad RNG didn't go for this kind of composition. And we'll see if they can make that happen here. Of course, SKT, though, still with the lead from their early plays, but taking back some disadvantages in other spots as Peanut now we go for this Mountain Drake.
At the moment where the Galio mid is a comfortable one, he can just lazily walk over to the Baron and make sure nothing's going to happen there to stop the setup, stop the control wards from being too advanced. So tanky that he's happy to face check away.
RNG trying to keep that pressure on top side while sacrificing this dragon. They really want more gold. Gold to fuel these carries. And yes, they would love to have a Mountain Drake to really put more threat on a Taric Baron, but if they can get the items onto the Corki and Tristana, that's what they're looking to try and really bridge this gap.
Looks like the respect that Lulu better in duels right now than Taric, which makes sense. Taric much more of a team fighter, all area of effects around that champion. You saw that Bang is able to push Uzi away despite the momentary deficit. The fact that Uzi has a completed static shift, but no IE done for Bang. Certainly a difference in what would be power in a fight. Thanks to able to control the lane though, and not take too much damage.
One of those things though where SKT have a lot of delay. Caitlyn wave clear with a ship, Galio. A lot of globals to bail them out if there's a proactive move. But the delay is not necessarily towards a better moment for SKT in team fights, and that's why RNG, they don't want to opt into this, but they have largely been a team to just have Uzi pushing out minion waves, hit 3-4 items, and then abuse how strong, or embrace how strong their team fighting has been. So for now, SKT happy with the pace of the game.
See the continued push as SKT now answering the mid lane, and no one's going to stop them. They got the rest of the team to go away, and this is now 4-2 in turrets. SKT pushing farther ahead, 3,000 now the lead.
Cost of having Corki in the side lane, no teleport ward for him to be able to get in there, and obviously a Corki teleport. Situational at best, so doesn't mean they give away the free objective.
And LNG now forced to go towards what tank stats he can, getting himself Knight's Vow, but not a lot of durability, honestly. He can be cut down in a fight now, looking at the next shot towards Bang. Good damage up in here, Shahu getting him down almost! The barrier, the wild growth both keep him alive.
Two really big cooldowns there, and the pressure mounting for RNG as they collapse around mid lane. Will Peanut be left alone?
He is, but he dodges a stun, means he's able to walk away. That could have been a dive if not for the quick fingers and the juke away. Still 3-4 in turrets. The lead is SKT's 2,500, but moments of pushing now for RNG.
SKT are going to have to show us something special here. So rarely do we get the feeling in these games where time is not working in their favor, as RNG really starting to close the gap as they get closer and closer to that Corki Infinity Edge coming in as well.
I think Bang forgot he didn't finish IE yet. He just got a Zeal, which is more than the combined cost of what an Infinity Edge takes, which is like 1,200 change. Like, I think he just overlooked the fact that he's lowering his damage output, which may come to hurt him in a team fight, but we'll see.
The DPS onto Zhao, who has the movement speed here. Can only assume it's for extra attack speed for the Ardent Sensor, but given
Not
the lower
right
value.
it's literally not the right item.
I know you are the oracle for builds, but hard to forget you don't have an Infinity Edge when your whole item, 6 items is full.
I do not see a way of explaining your way out of this
He
one
recalled
as
it
well.
exactly 1,200 gold, and I think it's 1,225 to finish IE from this point, and he's like, I need the power spike now. I didn't want to sell a Doran
That seems
shield.
more likely than forgetting.
I would sell the Doran shield though, 100%.
Either way, we have no Infinity Edge on Bang for any sort of fight that breaks out around this Baron. And with all of the outer turrets dropping, you know, RNG are moving in, taking the vision control. Even with this middling gold lead here for SK Telecom, it feels like RNG feels so comfortable with the current state of the game. And there it is. Now the Corki has his Infinity Edge as well.
Yeah.
So it's 2-0, where it's 2-1.
2 Infinity, maybe beyond that right now. 0 for SKT. Let's see if they get anything out of this one. And I want to move our conversation a little bit since we are in a lull in the action. Not a lot of fights just yet. It's RNG going for vision control. I want to see what legacy these teams can leave for us. Uzi's been in 2 World Finals. Sadly for him, he's lost in both of them. Faker's been in 3. If RNG win this, Uzi gets to tie that mark, that being in 3 finals himself. Maybe this will be the one that he wins, but you can kind of tell the tension is there. They're a bit more hesitant to pull the trigger, knowing that one mistake is the last mistake you get to make for the year.
And like the analyst talked about on the desk, until SK Telecom actually ever get knocked out of Worlds,
Yeah.
you're not really going to believe that it's likely to happen. It's the mystique around this team with the consistency that they have performed with year after year have really built this up.
It's the end of a chapter. If they lose here, they will be remembered, RNG, whatever the result of the final, as ending SKT's undefeated best-of series streak at Worlds, and that already is the sort of thing that adds to Uzi's legacy, but doesn't quite get him a title.
And the statement always is, I'll believe Rome burns when I see the ashes. And right now there's smoke, but is there really fire? SKT still with the gold lead, and you can argue compositions, but execution is always what matters at the end of the day. And 8 times now, that question's been asked to SKT, will you bow out? And every single time they have won that game instead and gone further and further. There's a reason they have won 3 world titles. It is clutch factor, a factor that Uzi just simply has not shown yet in his career.
They're looking to go double digits in best of 5s at Worlds as well, would be 10-0 in best of 5 series at Worlds ever since 2013, if they're able to take it here.
Well, on to Uzi, Rocket jumps away and decided that wasn't too afraid of Kaigo's anymore. Gonna waste some vision again. Xiaohu continues to be on the split push with this teleport. This is a double TP team plus Let Me's ultimate. SKT, of course, with a similar situation. They've got the Galio plus the double teleport.
One of the little ways that you can feel like RNG is reclaiming control of this game is that Huni is never really pushing past the river on the Gnar. He's basically pushing out a single minion wave that Shen pushed to him, and they're just trading farm between a Gnar and Shen, which lets you know he's not confident enough to keep pushing down. They can't rotate him topside for now. They don't want him to lane against the Corki. So for now, the Gnar pushing pressure on Shen isn't really a bullet point of this game because they're just trading farm between the two.
In the meantime, though, SK Telecom still should be able to control the neutral objectives here. They push out the mid wave. Bang and Wolf are rotating over for another Drake. Luckily for them, Ocean Drake not the most benefits on this stage of the game. Sure. But they'll definitely take every little bit they can get.
Thomas Smith, you mentioned trading farm before. To narrow in on that topic, you actually look at who's having gold leads on both these sides. Xiaohu and Uzi are actually the ones with gold leads over their respective counterparts of SKT. It's top jungle support with 4 gold on SKT, but they've been in Redemption. No one cares that Wolf has 700 more. Lulu with a Crystal Embracer doesn't do anything different, so some of these spikes are really valuable, such as Rapid Fire Cannon being done on Uzi and not for Bang.
On a simple level, RNG have killed more minions than SKT have, even though SKT have the pressure draft with the Galio Global, with the Gnar who was pushing in. So the fact that RNG have got access to more minions than SKT lets you know that their ability to defend in the early to mid game, to stop the game from snowballing further after the first inner turret went down in the bottom lane, it's been a robust defense, and they've rotated Xiaohu and Uzi around well. End result is big item leads for them right now.
All right, let's talk about how SKT could craft themselves a beneficial team fight, though, because there are other items at play here, with Caitlyn traps being able to close off jungle corridors and being able to create terrain with Jarvan for Huni to use for a large Gnar ultimate. Yeah. Speaking of disruption, they have these very big possible combos of Jarvan, Galio, and Gnar getting to that backline and stopping that TPS. Yes, you know, if Free Firing Corki and Tristana with Infinity Edges are left alone, then they can take the toll.
They attempt the flash, and Huni guesses which way to go away. And that's not going to get the kickback. But here comes the package. This could be the fight that seals it all. Here they go into the front line. Huni transforms, but will he be knocked down? No. He's going to stay alive. 5v5 still available on both sides here.
No one dies. More tools used by RNG. They teleported in. Couldn't find a fight win. Huni can teleport back in, but he will be exhausted on the mini-Gnar. We all take a big gulp, and the game resets again.
And they did have to use Huni's flash to get out, so that's one component that would make it easier to pull off that big AoE combo for the back line. As well, Bang on the Caitlyn. His flash also expended, so have to worry about the positioning. Really important here for the next fight.
Definitely agree. 3 summoners for 3, though. The overall trade in this one, no Ignite to reduce the healing. out from Ming here is, once again, RNG look to be playing for the ward control, but SKT still has trinket wards inside the Baron pit, so nothing really stifled out just yet. The minimap not fully gray here as RNG push forward. Once again, get control of mid lane first.
And even though it's by a different path, this game's RNG's draft, with where they have the multiple damage dealers in the late game and SKT only having one, still echoes what they did in game one, where they said, if we can take it late, we will win. Now trying to increase the pace of the game, though. First attempt at Baron.
Trying to pull SKT into the pit. The vision seen a little bit here as the ward goes up the wall. They know it's at 5K. If Baker holds the front line, what kind of taunt can he get? What kind of setup is there? The snipe coming through. SKT actually re-engaged on the Baron, and they're going to get rid of the vision. Down to 4,800.
Nars in bot lane actually is taking a red buff and pushing. So SKT aren't serious about actually forcing a 5v5 fight, but they have pushed RNG off the Baron.
Yeah, they're just trying to delay the members of RNG here. Now, Letme's been sent down to the bottom to deal with that minion wave, though, and SK Telecom disengage.
First time they've gotten any sort of control over the halfway mark and actually wards into the blue buff area in a long time. So RNG, a bit out of nowhere starting Baron, cost them a lot of map vision. SKT get inside track on mid.
They win the exchange. This turret down below us. 1/3 gone already, down to half HP. And who's going to stop them? Some wave clear from Corki, and it lives at about 1/4 health. But that last minute or so was much better executed by the Koreans, by the defending champions. Hoping to reclaim that throne yet again, as they're one game away from eliminating Royal Never Give Up here, making it to their 4th final.
Most impressive thing to me about SKT this tournament is that they found themselves with the lack of control over games with a gold disadvantage many times over the course of the tournament. And those were the games they actually pulled out and won. They lost to Snowball comps from Misfits twice. They lost to the Fizz Sejuani combo AHQ was playing. But all those long games where they were in large gold leads, they won because the one thing they have been able to do consistently is set up a line of defense, understand if this team makes one move on this part of the map, let's get the maximum advantage somewhere else. They never give up free lunches. That has been the consistent story with SKT, and that's why there, RNG made their first practice move in a while. They said, okay, we got the item timings, let's start the Baron, let's make the fight now while we know we're strong, and SKT respond to it and actually get an advantage from it.
Well, SKT never give up free lunches, but Royal Never Give Up is in the name. That was lame, but it's going to be still the battle for vision over that one. I'm actually disappointed in myself. I apologize profusely everywhere, but it is still, it's just the tense vision battle. That is what this game is boiled down to at this point. The waves being cleared reasonably well on both sides. Huni not getting crazy inroads into the side lane.
I completely get it, Frank. There's nothing to shout about right now. We're waiting for that Titanic moment. We thought it might have been the teleport play from Xiaohu, but it was snuffed out even though it was the aggressive use of the Shen. This game is bleeding. It's basically requesting a match winner to show up in a moment. Another Baron start, we might see that big moment.
And it feels like SK Telecom are calling RNG's bluff. They're saying, prove it to us now. We are proven champions, and we have the poise in late game. You make the first move.
Flag saw it. It was still down there. The taunt's going to land on a 1. The stun there to join as well. They get the ulti out of Galley. Letme will be knocked up there. The chase in still going for Bang. He's got the damage up, but Chunks used it to half and forces the rocket jump away. And meanwhile, Gnar still pushing in the bot lane.
So Huni was doing in their losses, doing it here as well. He's back in main form, which when it comes to turret damage, is actually a benefit for the Gnar.
Huni taking his toll down there on the bottom side, and the veterans in SK Telecom get a little bit more pressure.
Continually able to split the map, and once again now starting on the Baron. The team far away. MLXG can join this, but the Baron losing health rapidly. He sees, guys, Bang's hitting the Baron.
There's no control ward on the Baron, so they're not actually able to secure it. They had one in the inventory. They peel away. SKT were not going to finish.
And critically, Xiaohu on the bottom of your screen in the minimap, chasing Huni down, who was closing in his rage bar for a teleport to join the rest of the team. But here they go!
Cataclysm pops and kicks right back to the rest of the team. MLXG hoping to buy some time. Will get flashed on by Faker. The knockups to follow. Here comes Shen. The knockups to come in. Do they have the damage up? But MLXG trying to run away, getting up the wall, staying alive with a chase in for Peanut. Will find the first kill and break all of the silence. And the chase now for Letme slowed, and no flash, but getting away, but a dead jungler is all SKT needs.
They find the kill on the jungler, and that's all SK Telecom need to flip the switch. Baron started up once again.
He's still pretty far away, walking at an easy solo on the Drake for Huni. Baron losing more and more of his health. 8,000 health left. You can see a quick blink in. Uzi nearby. Bang. Hitting the shots in. Down to 4,000. Let me in the front line. Here's the TP in for Huni. And a trap gets Uzi too low. Royal never gonna forfeit the Baron. The spike comes through, and now it might be too late for Xiaohu. Flashing away, hitting the blue for a bit of move speed, but his health bar's running low, and Faker will shut him down.
SKT was so reliable on the defense that RNG got angsty. They thought something had to give. It was SKT that were actually able to pick up the important pick. The one time they actually had control over the Baron area.
Nerves of steel for SK Telecom, and it pays off with a jungle pick into Baron buff and opening up the RNG base.
35 seconds till Xiaohu is back. This should be an easy push at the very start. So the question is, what do they go for? Is it inhibitor and more or inhibitor and back? And they look to be positioning a bit forward here, but they will cease at this point, take the win that they can get, and let the respawns happen.
A lot of Baron buff duration. They have a backup win condition spawning in the Elder Dragon. They picked up 3 stacks on that as well. No need to get greedy. We're not going to be able to finish the game with Justana alive.
SK Telecom so confident in this front line, able to find the pick there in the critical moment to open up team number 5. And let's take another look at MLXG here on the attempted escape.
Yeah, he doesn't flash. He doesn't flash, but in previous areas, this would have been fine for him to go for aggressive vision. SKT were not defending the Baron area that aggressively. This time they do, and Peanut just about finishes the kill.
That's just so greedy. MLXG's in front of 4 people, and he says, I'm in Cataclysm. That's okay, I'll wait it out. And they give away all the control.
SK Telecom. Call for RNG to prove that they deserve it, to move past them, but not to yet be proven. Now they're going to have to do it into a Baron buff on a pushing SK Telecom. Open mid lane here has already been destroyed. Super minions will soon be making their way to RNG's base. And a bunch of purple minions will be making their way to the bottom of the base.
Yes, they are. And as they continue marching on down, it's a source of gold for RNG, but a source of consternation, knowing that if their base falls, their hopes are over.
And we rewind. What were we saying? RNG with the double Infinity Edge carries, they just wanted to team fight. SKT got their advantages without even starting a team fight. A pick was all they needed. Now they roll in with the long-range Caitlyn, trying to take a second inhibitor turret. The only thing they wanted to avoid was a fight. And so many times Galio looked to be going aggressively. We knew it was just to allow the Nard to split push. SKT does not want a 5v5.
What's the next play? Onto the bot lane they are. The traps from Caitlyn make re-engaging difficult. Let me blocks the shot. And the siege can continue. Huni walking up, the rest of the team doing the similar. Cannon shoots away at this turret.
Say what you want about the nerf DPS of Caitlyn in team fights, but her tower siege is still premier here. Caitlyn traps basically nullify the opportunities for engagement, and the range destroys the turret.
With the turret gone, that means there's no engage to be had for RNG. As we back off of this one, a nice knockback means there's no taunt on Uzi. Look at the next one is Xiao, who actually cleanses away with the QSS. The inhibitor is gone, and now there should no longer be a fight that RNG wants. SKT able to get the clean second inhibitor take with the siege.
And we also come back to drop. We said MLXG is on the Lee Sin. They do not have true engage on this team. With MLXG's flash down, even when he buffers a Q onto a front line and you think, oh, is this going to be the insect play? The reliability without the flash is not there. Put down the traps, have the Galio put up his big W taunt, and then take down objectives. The crowd is roaring. They are cheering for RNG. How are they going to fight a 5v5 fight when SKT has spent 37 minutes denying a 5v5 fight?
Well, with 2 inhibitors down, there's not a lot of territory for RNG to work with anymore. They've got so much minion clearing duty ahead of them. Every 30 seconds is going to seem like a lifetime as the double stacked super minions will be buffing each other up when mid lane meets bottom lane at the Nexus turrets.
It does allow gold to keep flooding in. Uziana lead currently over Bang on this one, but the siege continues. The overall team gold, of course, much higher for the South Koreans, looking for top lane tier 2 now. Faker able to tank up these shots so easily. Even if the theoretical damage is higher, Faker's real tankiness just the highest in this game.
It's never going to get access to the Caitlyn. It can't walk up and actually stop the turrets going down. Faker, maybe he's taking damage. It's hard to tell at this point.
Yeah, can take 3 turret shots for just a Lulu shield. Gets harder from there when you have block it, redemption, and everything else. Bang again, putting some shots down. Gets a couple hundred health off of Let Me.
Maybe it's worth just trying to kill Nar quickly, but even that's so difficult right now with Branduin's complete. Turret's falling low.
Faker pushed away, but yeah, the shot's still coming in. The turret's tanked up, and this will be turret number 8 for SK Telecom T1. They've doubled the score of RNG in that regard.
And the SK Telecom War Machine slowly creeps forward. Bang places another line of traps. The super minions are inside of the base, and RNG's options are running out.
Snaps up, auto's ready. Faker again holding the front line. Ming burns Locket to block it. That seems a bit excessive, but wants to be full HP for that one. Let Me taking a couple of shots as well. Maybe a taunt onto the tank here. Let Me is going to be pulled in. The taunt zone, dodge zone gone. And not a lot of damage for this one.
Minion wave in mid, starting to be pushed in. Minion wave in bot lane as well. RNG have good wave good. They can rotate around and stop the economic victory coming through from the minions pushing in. But otherwise, they're just basically watching, hoping for a miracle from this man, from MLXG.
He's found out the Warhawk's wasted. A lot, couple shots come out from Bang though as well, and Ming's at 2/3 health. Red buff goes once again, 2 in a row to Bang, stolen away from RNG's jungle. And well, there's an Elder Dragon waiting on the other side of this wall. It looks like there is no chance for RNG to stop this. They will get mid-control for a moment and not much more. A 4-stack Elder Dragon going to SKT. He has to respect Faker's fight comes in. Uni goes for the Mega Dart. The triple stun. Here's the follow through. It's going to be 2 already. And into the back lane goes Let Me. Cannot kill off Wolf though as the Chinese members are falling left and right. Uzi on the run. Peanut here to follow soon. Jumps forward, finds the dunk to flash away. But it's a 3v5. Can you win this fight and make it down to 2? This could be the death now. Uzi trying to kite from Hootie. It's not going to happen. That's 4. That's going to be 5. That's the ace.
And the legend of SK Telecom will not die today.
I've been told they're mortal, but they are not going to die today. A 12,000 gold lead. The team fight when they need it. SKT, masters of control, will take down the Nexus, will take down RNG, and are headed to their 4th World Championship final.
You never profess the death of SKT at Worlds until you see it in front of your eyes. Najin Shield went up 2-1 against them in 2013. Rox Tigers went up 2-1 last year. This team has been down multiple match points before, but they keep coming back, and Uzi could not be the clutch player in the last game. MLXG made the match about himself, drafting the Lee Sin. No big kick coming through from MLXG, and the SK Telecom T1 juggernaut rolls forward to a 4th World Final.
It rolls forward, but it was pressured. They had to work so heavily for this. 2 best of 5s. SK Telecom have been pushed to the brink. Yes, they have made it, but man, it's been close.
Down 2-1, and both times they've pulled back the last 2 games they needed. SKT, as you said, time and again, but it's worth repeating and mentioning. You don't see dynasties this good in esports or any sports. 4 World Finals in 5 years. Could be 4 titles in 5 years as well. The team so happy. Peanut came in and was the clutch member needed.
So often we've talked about the substitute jungle situation with this team. You know, Banky and Blank, now Blank and Peanut. And yet, as one of them gets subbed out, the other one always comes in to save the day.
Peanut smile, definitely a bit of a ray of sunshine after all his depression. Assistant coach Rapid Star on the screen again. And to your point, Freak, we use very flowery terms when we talk about SKT's dominance. Odyssey, other Greek mythology words. The era of, the chapter of. The chapter is still being written. We are still seeing it. There was a chance for it to be closed today, and maybe a new one spring eternal next year. But the chapter and the resilience of this team, for Peanut to come in and be as good as he was, dictated 2 in Game 4, strong in Game 5. Suddenly, they've got another selection headache on their hands, but it's not which jungler is less bad. It's which weapon do they want to unleash in Game 1 of the World Final, because Peanut looked a lot better. That level 2 gank was vintage Rox Peanut, just at the right time.
The level 2 gank, the catch on MLXG by the Baron that allowed them to break the entire game open.
Well, a great win by SKT. To their 4th final they will go. And now to hear more about that series, send it down to our analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We went the full 5, but SK Telecom T1 once again show us why they are the best team in the world, winning 2 straight to push themselves to a 4th consecutive finals. And for RNG and fans here at home in China, disappointment strikes as they realize how close they were to taking down the defending champions.
Did you know SKT's last 4 best-of-5s at Worlds have gone to 5 games? And they've won every single one of them. Like, the way they adapt throughout the series, and this is the scrappiest I have ever seen SKT play. The gymnastics they had to do in pick ban throughout the entire series here, into the way that they played around Huni's split pushing so much in these last moments. Like, they keep proving why they are the best.
I mean, it feels like it started out like a boxcar race, and then it was like this beautiful car at the very start of Worlds. And as it's gone further downhill, like wheels popped off, the windshield cracked open.
Still rolling, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flames are coming off the back of it.
But it is still rolling. I mean, you talk about having to pull off some gymnastics in Champion Select. We look at this game in particular. Whoever thought we'd see SK Telecom banning Leona and Nocturne of all champions in the 2nd rotation just because they're like, hey, we're not going to get surprised by something crazy like that.
And I think with that mindset, it does make some sense, but a lot of people are certainly going to be focused, I think, on the Lee Sin pick for MLXG because that's one that has such a high barrier of execution. You know, your baseline effectiveness is incredibly low on this champion. Unless you are pulling off fantastic plays at the professional level, the champion simply does not contribute nearly as much as his competitors, as the Jarvans, as the Gallios, Jarvans and the J4s and Sejuanis.
Yeah, and yes, RNG's carries outscaled that game. And I think RNG on an even gold game with the same mentality as SKT does outscale with that team composition. But what we said beforehand, like why I thought the least likely outcome for this series would be an RNG 3-2 victory, is that poise that you have in the big moments. Like we saw Bang head in hands after game 3. We saw Faker eyes closed, finding his focus before that 5th game. And they did. Bang played amazingly those last 2 games. Faker played great the entire series.
But if you want to talk about the player that individually stepped up in Game 5, funnily enough, it was Peanut. It was mentioned by the casters, right? The big level 2 gank and that catch on MLXG. Time now for us to throw it down to an interview with the SKT jungler.
Thank you very much, guys. And who else could I be joined by them? By Peanut, who was laughing and smiling very broadly when he walked off the stage. Peanut, how relieved are you that after those 5 intense games, you guys were able to close out the semifinal?
피너 선수 결승전 진출 축하드리고요. 정말 치열한 5경기 끝에 결승전 진출을 하셨는데 지금 어떠한 기분 드시나요? 안도감을 느끼시는지 아니면 정말 그냥 승리에 기쁘신지 지금 현재 느끼시는 심정을 말씀해 주세요.
일단 안도감도 들고 일단 첫 번째로는 일단 승리한 기분이 지금 그냥 말로 표현할 수 없을 것 같고 너무 힘들었는데 제가 롤컵 서머부터 너무 힘들었는데 그래도 오늘 마지막 게임은 좀 잘했다 생각해서 그것 때문에 더 기쁜 것 같아요. 네.
I sure am relieved, and it's really hard to. I can't express it in words how happy I am by winning the series. And starting from LSK Summers, I had a rough streak, but I'm really glad and I'm satisfied with my own performance for this last game. So this is a really great experience for me.
And I can only imagine the pressure that came with you being subbed in for the elimination game for SKT. Can you tell me a bit about what the coaches told you and how you were able to overcome that pressure and prove yourself?
특히 이제 SKT 탈락 위기에서 이제 다시 한번 경기에 투입되었는데요. 그 시점에서 뭐 코치님이나 다른 선수들이 어떤 조언을 주고 어떻게 이제 피너 선수에게 어떤 말을 했는지 어떤 마음가짐으로 경기에 투입됐는지 궁금합니다.
일단 조언은 너무 여러 가지로 많이 들어서 그냥 조언들은 진짜 많이 들었고요. 그냥 마인드는 제가 항상 선발로 나와서 항상 경기 임할 때 좀 경기할 때 부담감이 됐던 거는 그냥 교체 당할 것 같다. 그냥 교체라는 생각에 엄청 게임할 때 영향이 많이 끼쳤는데 오늘은 제가 선발이 아니고 서브로 가서 서브로 나오니까 그 부담감이 없어서 좀 잘 된 것 같아요.
So I got a lot of advice from my coach and my teammates, but I think I had a different mindset because usually when I play as a starter, I'm worried that it might get subbed out at some point. But since I was subbed in this time, I could just fully focus in the series.
You were saying it yourself, had kind of a rough patch in summer and maybe also in this tournament. So I remember you from MSI being smiling all the time, and it was kind of the Peanut show. So how is your confidence now going into that all-important last match and that World Championship final?
이제 피너 선수가 이제 LCK 썸머부터 살짝 좀 다소 부진하는 시기를 보냈다고 말씀하셨는데 사실 이제 MSI 때는 피너 선수 항상 웃고 정말 즐거웠고 MSI의 최고의 스타 선수였잖아요. 근데 이제 이번 준결승 통해서 어떤 자신감을 가지고 결승전에 임할 수 있는지 말씀해 주세요.
일단 오늘 마지막 5세트를 계속 생각하면서 결승전 임하면 그래도 또 자신감이랑 진짜 약간 자신감을 더 찾은 것 같아요. 저는 계속 있었다고 생각하는데 그냥 없던 자신감도 다시 생긴 오늘 5경기였던 것 같아요. 네.
So I think through Game 5 today, I regained my confidence fully, and I'm gonna keep on replaying this Game 5 in my head and keep this momentum going on, and my confidence and morality really high going to the finals.
All right, fantastic. Well, we'll see you there. Thank you very much. And congratulations once again, Peanuts. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shocks. As this is a game I'm sure he'll remember forever, I want to take a look at the moment he might remember forever from it. 33 minutes in, the pick on MLXG to get the Baron for SK Telecom.
And let's just take a moment and look at MLXG's flash. That's up. That's available. Still available.
Exactly. I think it was straight greed right there, and Faker had been pulling off these bluffs the whole game, and I don't think MLXG expect him to go for it. It then baits in the rest of the Shen ultimate. It means they burn Shen ult, it means they burn Shen flash, it means there's no jungler, and it started this sequence of events with which RNG never recovered.
And at the end of the day, these are the situations where you have to be able to handle the pressure, you have to be able to think clearly, make the optimal decision time and time again, and that's really what it seems SKT excels at, and these other teams that keep challenging them always fall short at.
And it's not just MLXG messing that up by holding his flash, it's then Xiaohu trying to steal the Baron with the rocket. Even after that MLXG death happens, if you're not going to fully commit to a 4v5 fight at Baron, you have to concede the Baron and have loss minimization, which is what RNG was really good at for most of the World Championship, but couldn't hold it together when it mattered most.
And I will say this. MLXG is probably going to get a lot of heat because that play is going to stand out as the kind of the big undoing, especially in Game 5 across from SKT. But it does take something for players to step up and to try to win the game. The fact that he locked in his Lee Sin in Game 5, that he tried to take the responsibility, and then even Xiaohu, who tried to save the play by overextending, looking for the Baron. So while there were mistakes, if that had worked out for them, they're then suddenly the heroes.
I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So what I'm disappointed in is not... I'm disappointed that the game even got to that point for MLXG, to be in this place where, like, hey, he needs to find the initiation, because we were never asking when will MLXG find a fight before. He was just doing it. And for as much as we praised RNG for going for 50-50 Barons against Samsung, they did it and it worked. They had Lee Sin kick. They could have kicked Jarvan away. They could have tried to do a 50-50 with the big team fight, but they never got to that point. They had one kill in Game 5.
And to that degree, you kind of see in that moment him weighing the decision between, do I blow my flash for safety or do I play greedy to hold it for that eventual flash kick that could win us the game, for that game-winning play that we so often expect to see from him.
And I think, honestly, if you're going to criticize MLXG for not being able to find the fights, you also have to praise SKT for playing very intelligently around their win conditions, around their opponent's win conditions, knowing that if Faker is around, you can actually take those fights. And this was the final fight. Huni finding the Gnar ultimate, catching everyone, and as soon as you saw him go over the wall with the Elder Dragon, you knew the series was over. You knew SKT were going back to the World Finals.
And the immediate response from Faker, and while I do agree that Huni has been incredible, Faker has just been amazing. Not only this tournament, but this series in particular. 5 games on Galio. I don't know how he got every single one of them, but even in the losses, he was unparalleled.
Yeah, and we watched the way Faker paths in the early game. He was doing a level 2 roam top in one of the games to help out Huni, but it takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to play that game. Huni has to carry. Faker is also helping a lot from the Galio.
I think it's so impressive that Faker, while often up in CS, is able to roam constantly. He's able to threaten the side lanes and absorb pressure. He seems to be able to do it all, and to me, there's no doubt in my mind that he was the best player in this series on either side, and I think that fully deserving of getting there again.
All right, let's talk, though, for a moment real quick about Huni, though, because this is one of those teams that is kind of, you know, rejecting that ardent sensor meta, and they continue to look at Huni as someone that they want to put resources into, and they are finding success.
Yeah.
We keep saying that they look wounded, but they are winning.
I know, and there's a chance that they're probably the favorite heading into the World Championship, pending the results of the series tomorrow. And I always come back to the question of whether or not SKT is playing around Huni because they want to, or if they have to. Because SKT has always found a way to win in whatever means necessary, but I feel like Huni's teleports have been off, and when he does his own thing, when he's allowed to just split push and almost never teleport back in for the collapse, and SKT is just so good with this experienced 4-man unit, like that's when they have looked best, so that's the way they're playing.
And I'd also say, while we talk about them playing around Huni, it's not like he's getting nonstop help. He has insanely low jungle proximity. He's barely ever getting help from his team, but it is playing around him in that this is the style the team all has to work with, right? You have to be able to play defensive with the 4 if your 5th is going to be off in the side lanes, but I think he's doing it as well or better than anyone in the world right now, and to me, this is kind of the success that we were expecting to see from someone like Khan. People were super excited about the carry top laner. I think Huni has been showing an excellent display of that.
Well, what I think as well is Huni has always been so amazing at being Huni. And when he joined SKT and when we saw Huni in the spring split and Huni and MSI, they're like, wow, Koma coached Huni into this amazing tank player. Huni's still Huni.
Yep.
He's not being the tank player that could be coached into a different man by Koma and Carter. He is playing the way he has always played, but the rest of SKT is enabling him to now be in the World Championship with the rest of SKT.
Talk to me, Frost.
And then you have to look at kind of the other two top laners across from it. It's either going to be 957, it's going to be QV. And both these guys, I mean, QV a bit more has more of that lane pressure, are big 5v5 top laners. It's about their teleport play. It's about how they set up the team fights. And now they have to play that split push style and be flexible if you want to control SKT.
All right, the big plays came from Huni in Game 5. The big damage came from Bang down in the bot lane. Let's send it down for a word with the SKT bot laner.
Thank you very much, guys. Indeed, joined here by Bang, who also played that 5 games of that very intense series. Bang, what from your perspective were the biggest challenges that you overcame today?
일단 정말 치열한 경기 끝에 승리하신 거 축하드리고요. 오늘 경기에 가장 고비였던 부분들이 어떤 것이 있었나요?
저는 일단은 1경기는 사실 패배가 그렇게 아쉽진 않은데 저희가 두 번째 접을 때는 굉장히 이제 저희가 생각대로 챔피언도 다 가져오고 했는데 단순히 그냥 순전히 저희 실수로 좀 이기고 있던 경기를 역전 당했다고 생각해서 그때가 좀 많이 아쉽고 또 고비라고 생각해요. 상대가 기세를 더 탈 수도 있었고 저희가 좀 꺾일 수도 있었는데. 네.
So when we lost game 1, I wasn't too worried because I thought that was a game fair and square. But when we lost game 3, I was really worried because we had the picks that we wanted and we had the game planned out, but we just made a lot of mistakes and lost that game really easily. So after that game 3, I thought that was the tipping point and challenge for us to win the series because we thought that the RNG would get the momentum going on.
But you guys took the momentum back. That also happened when you played Misfits. You guys received, as a bottom lane, a lot of criticism after that. So how do you feel you've performed, rebounded, and how do you feel you've performed today, rather?
이제 사실 지난주 미스피스 경기할 때도 이제 3경기 지고 좀 위기가 있었지만 다시 한번 경기 흐름 바꿨는데요. 4경기를 통해서 사실 그때 미스피스 경기 때는 좀 바텀 라인 좀 다소 경기력에 대한 좀 비난이 있었는데 어떻게 경기를 다시 끌어올렸는지 궁금하고요. 이번 시리즈 그 바텀 라인 의 경기를 어떻게 평가하시는지 궁금합니다.
저번 주에 이제 미스피츠랑 경기를 한 게 저희한테는 이제 굉장히 약이 됐다고 생각하고 저희가 사실 롤드컵 준비하기 전부터 또 준비하러 와서 레오나나 블리츠 크랭크 같은 불타는 향로를 가지 않는 챔피언들에 대해서 완전히 배제를 하고 저희가 게임을 해왔었고 연습 경기에서도 한 번도 안 나왔었는데 이제 그런 픽들에 당했잖아요. 근데 저희가 사실 그래도 한 3, 4일 정도 준비할 시간이 있었고 그 픽들에 대해서 연구를 다시 했고 사실 저희가 미스피츠전 경기 전에도 자신감이 굉장히 있었는데 그 챔피언 상성만 이제 좀 문제풀이를 하면 그건 저희는 실력에 자신이 있었어서 그냥 그런 것들에 집중을 했었던 것 같아요. 네.
So I think through the last Misfits series, we learned a lot from them. Like coming into this tournament, we didn't even consider like playing against Leona or Blitzcrank. We ruled them off the table completely, those non-Ardent Sensor champions. But through that series, we learned a lot about ourselves and about the other champions that could potentially get picked. And I think through that experience, we were able to recoup the past 3-4 days, and through that practice we were able to play a lot better this series.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Bang, and we'll see you in the final. Thank you, Homan, as well. Back over to you guys.
Thank you, Shocks. A nod to Misfits there and what they were able to do against SKT in terms of making them rethink their approach to the game. I think, again, as we talk about how challenged SKT has looked at the different stages through this world specifically, to some degree, it also reminds you again how powerful a team they are when they do absorb that information, turn around and use it for themselves.
I mean, that was always the question, is what kind of form are SKT going to look like in 1 week's time? We talk about how they constantly are ramping up during tournaments, and they absorb your powers, they learn from you, and then they execute on them better. So RNG, Misfits send the regards.
And I also realized what a crazy road this 5-game series was, because they took a lot from Misfits, right? They hadn't been playing necessarily meta. Galio, J4, Lulu, Caitlyn, Nar. That's nothing crazy, and that was the Game 5 team composition, but it was the journey to get there. The fact that Nocturne and Leona bans were thrown in there in between, but ultimately they did manage to manufacture what felt very comfortable for them in the end.
And when we talk about SKT, we talk about dynasty. It takes a lot to sustain a dynasty, but we like to recognize one player who is crucial in finding that win for SKT. So player of the series is being awarded to Faker.
Shocker.
I mean, he is the dynasty at this point. Let's be honest. This guy, one of the most impressive things about it is not only his incredibly long-term success, it's the fact that every iteration of SKT is built around him. He is always the focal point. He is always the star. And it seems like there's no sign of them slowing down.
And when you're going to find all of that success, why not build around Faker? I mean, there was games where this guy was ganking top, mid, and bottom all within 5 minutes.
Only one champion portrait necessary for this graphic. Normally, we're trying to cram like 3 different photos in there. Nope, not today.
I haven't verified this, but I feel like that's the first time someone's played the same champion all 5 games of Best of 5 at Worlds.
It might. That's a totally unverified stat. Take it as you will.
There's just gotta be no way. With the way series adapt so much, like you do also have to call into question the fact that RNG gave him Galio in all 5 games. Like, were all of those other bans always necessary? You have to wonder a little bit.
For sure,
well,
but
they'll be wondering too.
I mean, at the same time, if you look at it, if this is a SKT lost series, which it very well could have been, people
then you're
going to
flame Coma.
Why would you be picking Galio? Why do you put the best player in the world on Galio? So it's very hard, and you can look at it both ways. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with Faker, because he can play everything, and he can play everything at the highest level.
I mean, I think the thing about Galio, though, is it just allows Faker to do everything. I almost wouldn't rather have him on any other champion. Like, he can absorb any sort of pressure in the mid lane. He can gank everywhere around the map. He's running double teleport. Like, that guy was everywhere doing everything that his team needed.
It allows him to do everything. He's done everything. Let's toss it down to Shocks one more time to speak with SKT's mid laner.
Thank you very much. I am here with Faker, who has just been crowned player of the series after 5 games on Galio. Nonetheless, how do you reflect on your own performance today?
페이커 선수 갈리오를 5경기나 하고 결국 이제 시리즈 MVP로 뽑혔습니다. 본인의 경기를 이번 경기를 어떻게 평가하시나요?
네, 오늘 좀 갈리오로 실수가 많긴 했는데 제가 또 워낙 갈리오를 잘하다 보니까 받을 줄 알고 있었는데 뭐 크게 놀랍지는 않은 것 같아요.
So I did make some mistakes, but I was well aware of how good I am with the Galio. So I was actually expecting to receive the player of the series. So I'm not too surprised.
Not surprised. So there you go. When it comes to the knockout stage, this has been one of the most, if not the most challenging knockout stage for SKT so far, with 2 matches going to Game 5. How has that influenced your mindset now going into the final?
사실 이제 페이커 선수는 지금까지 모든 롤드컵을 통틀어서 가장 어려운 다전제 시리즈, 모든 다전제 시리즈를 5경기까지 가면서 이제 힘들게 승리하셨는데요. 이러한 좀 고전을 겪으면서 결승전에 올라가는 마음가짐을 어떻게 갖추고 계신지 궁금합니다.
저희가 지금 많이 부족하기 때문에 오전제 5경기를 다 많이 치르고 있는데 다음엔 좀 더 보완을 해서 최대한 3경기 안으로 이길 수 있게 바꿨으면 좋겠고, 왜냐하면 제가 지금 좀 배가 매번 끝날 때마다 배가 고파가지고 다음에는 좀 빨리 밥을 먹고 싶네요.
So I think it was due to us making a lot of mistakes and our poor performance that we had to go to Game 5 for every single series. So going to the finals, I would like to make sure that we improve and work on our mistakes so we can end the finals by Game 3, because I'm really hungry right now and I hope to finish the final series within 3 games so I can go eat quickly.
Okay, I see that is of course a very important thing to think about. Yet the finals still have to be played in that amazing Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing. Who are you hoping to face there, Faker?
이제 결승전에서는 이제 정말 어마어마한 규모의 경기장인 베이징 올림픽 스테디움에서 경기하실 텐데요. 그 경기장에서 어떠한 팀과 붙기를 원하시나요?
네, 저는 일단 큰 경기장을 가본 적이 몇 번 없어서 이번에 특히 기대되고요. 뭐 저는 언제나 그렇듯이 어느 팀이 올라와도 크게 상관은 없을 것 같아요.
I'm really looking forward to play at the Bird's Nest because I don't have actually much experience in playing in that size of a stadium venue. So I'm really looking forward for that experience. But I don't have any actually big preference of who I'll play against as usual.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much. Faker, a very cheeky Faker this time around. Back over to you, Guy.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Pointing out the fact that he hasn't played in a stadium as large as the Bird's Nest. If we recall, the one Worlds he missed was the one in Sangam, World Cup Stadium, and that was the next largest venue. So that will be a treat for him now that he has booked his ticket to Beijing.
Yeah, and Azel pointed out during the interview is like he looks really happy.
Yes.
After that one, you can tell how much stress SKT was under in this last week. Like, it's not just some made-up storyline that SKT has been pushed to the brink and that they look wounded. Like, they had to kind of throw out the book of what they were planning after the Misfits series, completely remake it. Then the Leona Blitz stuff didn't work. They had to remake it again, go back. Like, they have been so damn scrappy that you can see it. Faker's just really relieved and happy to be through to the finals.
And so while we go for it. Closing point on Faker.
To me, it's just the fact that they have like this Mary Poppins bag where they are able to like reach in, and it's like you have no idea like how many strategies do they have.
There has to be a bottom
games.
to that bag. There's only so many champions in League of Legends, right? But while we talk about how SKT has been pushed to the limits in this World Championship, I think we have to talk about the teams that have pushed them to those limits. And in this case, it was RNG. We are saying farewell to them, Uzi and the crew. But they did put up quite a performance today and once again have challenged our world champions.
And I think they can be proud of their performance here. You know, they didn't get to the World Finals, as I obviously set out to do, and win that first title for Uzi, as he's been chasing after for so long. But, you know, this is an all-Chinese team that performed exceptionally well. They went very far, and I still think that they should be holding their heads high to push SKT to a Game 5.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the thing is losing to SKT, I mean, that's still going to sting, especially when you're that close, but it doesn't mean the end of the world, whereas beating SKT means everything. And RNG were that close to doing it.
Yeah, and I like how RNG did RNG things. Like when they locked in Vayne, when MLXG picked Lee Sin, we're like, that's just RNG. That's just the way they're going to play.
And they're true to their identity.
And I hope they're not discouraged by the Game 5 loss, because that is a great team that just lost to the best team ever. And they beat Samsung twice in group stage. They went up 2-1 against SKT. Ming was a rookie this split. Like, as long as they keep grinding, I think they will have a chance next year to make it to the final.
Couldn't say it better myself. Now, as we close out the day, let's pull up the bracket. SKT return to another World Final as they look to defend their championship title in Beijing. And now we just need to see who will meet them at the Bird's Nest, Samsung Galaxy or Team WE. Let's talk about this matchup real briefly.
I mean, to me, this is the ultimate 50-50. The LPL teams have never been afraid from Samsung Galaxy. We faced them quite extensively at Rift Rivals, and Samsung liked to team fight, WE liked to team fight. To me, this is two juggernauts ramming into each other.
And it's going to be super exciting because, you know, while Samsung showed a lot of weaknesses in groups, they did lose those 2 games to RNG. They looked so much better in the quarterfinals, and their adaptation, their preparation, I think, was a strong point. And we saw that C9 used preparation well against WE, though they fell short. So I think it's going to be an exciting series, and a lot, to me, will come down to the draft.
Yeah, and I feel like unlike last year where we had the SKT Rocks that were like clearly the 2 best teams of the tournament playing in semifinals before finals, Samsung and WE are in the conversation for potential world champions. Like,
without a doubt.
Really excited for tomorrow. It's going to be hard to outdo today. Probably impossible from the storylines we had going
said
in.
that? This
like
right, I was about to say,
Yeah.
the teams have delivered this entire tournament long.
Yeah, we've said that about as many times as we've said SKT is wounded. So
Yeah,
we'll
okay, well,
see
that's
if it
fair.
ends up being true or not.
Fair point. But there we have it. We're going to put a capper on the day. So for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for Worlds Tonight, where Shocks will be joined by Frostgren and Kobe to review the series and look towards the upcoming semifinal match. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds 2017. Good night. Two iconic teams, SK Telecom T1 and Royal Never Give Up, taking to the stage for our first semifinal. We were here just a year ago to watch these teams two battle.
Here comes the chase, lands the kill! And the Chinese crowd goes wild! Clock, despite the ulti from Ming, that's gonna secure no flashes in, but still the fight too early from Blank. They still won't have time to bang! And the tag, they're picking them all up, the twin getting all of them, no kill already! Going in for the smite, it's gonna be picked up by RNG! Picking them all up, now the fight begins! Look for the kill, one already got his bang and lost his life! Game one is done, RNG need two more! Jump away, the Deadly Venom maybe taking him down, Let me on the chase as well, Faker going towards the turret, trying to shout over the...
一个再给打一个，小心一，小心一，小心一，小过，小心一，小心一。
The chase into the turret, the take goes, but he's trying to find the cover, but no kills coming across. Will they get some more kills? Uzi tossed it up, the flash forward, the body slam is in. 2 deaths already, making a third shortly. SKT will not be stopped inside their opponent's base. The reigning world champions are closing in on their march. Looking for Blank, looking for the chase down now on the bang. Pop guilty stun gonna land. One or duo man, but Faker gonna join. Flashes forward, chase continues in, and he's not gonna be lost to the world.
相过，来个，来个。
Stopping the knock on the mid lane, unstoppable. Uzi is himself, and Wolf is gonna be skinned as well. RNG are a single game away from making history. He goes for the knock, and there are no more spells to land. A couple more hits, and Josh is getting himself around.
来一个톡톡톡 이거 오케이 끝났어 끝났어.
Without a carry, this could be the game just now. The flash forward, they found the second and double for the Cosmos. SKT bring us to game 5. Well, here comes Shen. The knock took him in. Do they have the damage up? And Evelyn